Lowe's knows you've got a job to do, and we help get it done. With the MyLowe's Pro Rewards program, eligible members save more with volume discounts on qualifying orders through a quote of $2,000 or more. Join for free today. Lowe's, we help, you save. Offer can't be combined with any other discount, contract, and/or special pricing. Exclusions, more terms, and restrictions apply. Details at lowes.com/terms. Subject to change.
Sexy back, yeah. The mother boys don't know how to act, yeah. I think it's special what's behind your back, yeah. So turn around and I'll pick up the slack, yeah. Take up to the bridge, dirty babe. You see these shackles, baby, I'm your slave. I'll let you whip me if I misbehave. It's just that no one makes me feel this way.
To the back.
Go ahead, be gone with it.
VIP.
Go ahead, be gone with it.
Drinks on me.
Go ahead, be gone
what
with
you're
it.
twerking with.
Go ahead, be gone with it.
Look at those hips.
Go ahead, be gone with it.
You make me smile.
Go ahead, be gone with it.
Go ahead, child.
Go ahead, be gone with it.
Get your sexy up.
Go ahead, be gone with it.
Get your sexy up.
Go ahead, be gone with it.
Get your sexy out.
Go ahead, be gone with it.
Get your sexy up.
Go ahead, be gone with it.
Get your sexy up.
Go ahead, be gone with it.
Get your sexy up.
Go ahead, be gone with it.
Get your sexy out.
Go ahead, be gone with it.
Get your sexy up.
I'm bringing sexy back. Yeah. The motherfuckers don't know how to act.
I think I remember it being better. And I think that's indicative of the time in your life when you are experiencing music like that. I don't know, or maybe it's the only kind of music you experienced at the time. You see, there was a time before we made talk radio sexy, and that's what we've done here at 570 News Radio, and in particular with this show and our strong and growing Farwell force, now numbering 156 members. That's how many people are a force for good, a force for change, a force to be reckoned with here in the region of Waterloo. We have definitely made talk radio sexy. But many years before I began this journey in news and talk radio, I worked at a radio station that played music just like the song you heard to start our show today. And I recall quite enjoying bringing sexy back with Justin Timberlake. On this day in 2006, for some reason, some way, somehow, that song was a number one UK hit, and it became the longest running number one single on the Billboard Hot 100 chart back in 2006, staying there for 7 weeks. 7 weeks. That's all it took to stay in the number one spot back in 2006 with Sexy Back by Justin Timberlake. That same radio station I was talking about where I once worked that played music very much like Sexy Back. In fact, we played that song. The guy I worked with, we had great help from a producer, and we would make parody songs, where you take the song and then you change the lyrics to make it something different. And we changed it to We're Bringing Ugly Back. We had a lot of fun with parody songs back then. Maybe that's why in my mind, before I played the song this morning, I remembered it as a much better song. Somehow, some way, music like that made it to the top of the charts. Hey, it's 4 minutes after 9. On this Wednesday morning, the 3rd of September, welcome to the program. Hope your day is off to a great start. I know mine is because Paul, the professor, is already on the phone with us this morning. So let's start with a conversation with Paul. Morning, Paul.
Good morning, Mike. Oh, my goodness. Bring back a working man by right.
That was a little bit jarring, wasn't it?
That's not music to start my 9 o'clock hour. That's just annoying.
Okay.
That's an annoyance.
Well, wait till the next 4 hours, pal.
I'm going to do my best. I'm on my way to London for work. But you know what I mean, Mike? That's not music. That's just something else.
It was something else, all right, Paul. All right, I appreciate the feedback. We are always here to take your feedback. And that's a reminder that the minute we start the show every day, phone lines are open to you at 519-570-2545, star 570, and 1-800-570-5715. We like to mix things up with the music on the show, and some may have liked Sexy Back a little more than others. Hey, did you know that today is the first day back to school for our kids? Of course you know that because you went through the back to school routine, right? I will say again, just briefly, as I mentioned on the show yesterday, I feel as though we were being trolled just a wee bit by our friends in the education field when they took a PD day on what would have otherwise been the first day of school. I mean, if you watched any out-of-market newscasts yesterday, you would have seen kids going back to school in other parts of this province, but not here in the region of Waterloo. Again, probably not, maybe not the best PR move. I don't know. I know you're going to take your PD days throughout the year, and there are so many of them that get taken, but an interesting choice on what otherwise would have been the first day of school to take a PD day and make the first day of school today, and a 3-day week to ease. Like, you don't want to, heaven forbid you pull a muscle, right? As you head back for a new school year, kids and educators alike. Speaking of education, I don't know if you caught this story over the weekend, but this is, oh boy, you want to talk about PR and perhaps the bad PR. We know that the empire, if you will, has not just shown cracks, but really begun to crumble in many ways. Such a great success story was Conestoga College, what I often referred to as the little college that could, as it grew, it expanded, it grew not only in student population, but it expanded, it offered more programs, it had degree programs being run out of Conestoga College. There was a lot to like. It continually scored among the best or as the best college across the entire province of Ontario. And as we know, what was really happening, or what certainly began to happen recently, was Conestoga College took full, and I do mean full, advantage of the international student funding stream, if you will, by bringing in more international students than any other college by a long shot. In many instances, one could argue bringing in more than our community could certainly handle when it came to infrastructure, from transit to housing, etc. And things have begun to fall apart from there. Now campuses are being closed, like the one in downtown Kitchener. The student population has decreased dramatically since the federal government put a lid on that funding stream. Layoffs to the tune of about 1,800 people at Conestoga College. And then how about this? We learned over the weekend, my goodness gracious, that students who showed up for orientation at Conestoga College last week, so, you know, you're getting ready to start your first year of post-secondary, you applied to your program, you were accepted to your program, you paid for your program, and then you're all eager and you get in there about a week ahead of school starting, and you're going to get your orientation around the campus at Conestoga College, only to learn when you arrive for orientation that your program has been discontinued due to low enrollment. I'm trying to wrap my head around this, but you want to talk about a PR disaster. I mean, you took the money and had the program on offer and accepted students to it last spring. And then a week before they expect to be starting their studies, you tell them that the program has been discontinued due to low enrollment. What are those students supposed to do now? Like, we're talking dozens of kids who showed up for orientation at Conestoga College just to be told that their program was no longer being offered. I don't love, because I think the point of post-secondary is to be educating the workforce of the future. But I understand business is business, and apparently post-secondary is pretty big business. So you're going to be discontinuing programs with low enrollment. Fair enough. But then why did you accept students to them last spring at all? Why did you collect that money? Why did you string them along right until a week before classes were to have started? And now what do? instead of going to school this year and beginning the next step towards their future career, they're stuck in neutral. Are you going to get into another program somewhere else now at the absolute last minute? Just an absolute mess from where I'm sitting, and completely unfair to students in this regard. A real disappointment, at least from where I'm sitting. One more note I want to share with you. If you're worried at all about Hespeler Jack, do you remember Hespeler Jack? We talked about him on the show a few weeks ago now. Little stone statue that showed up in the Hespeler area of Cambridge, and neighborhood residents fell in love with this little statue, started dressing him up in different kinds of things, gave him the name Jack. He became Hespeler Jack, a little mascot or icon for the community. And lo and behold, Hespeler Jack was about to be picked up because the city had received a complaint. And so all of a sudden, there was some Cambridge city staff out on the street about to pick up Hespeler Jack from his corner. Thank goodness for Kent Beatty. Kent, we all send you a note of gratitude because Kent saw what was going on. He goes outside. Whoa. Hang on a minute here. What are you doing to Hespeler Jack? Well, we're taking him off his street corner. And Kent said, hang on a second. You can't do that. Everybody loves Hespeler Jack. So Kent took Hespeler Jack, put him right on his front lawn, right there on Rife Avenue in the Hespeler area of Cambridge. So if you still want to go see Jack, you still want to put a new pair of sunglasses on him, Kent Beatty has saved the day for Hespeler Jack in Cambridge. Good job by you, Kent. You deserve some credit for that.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9.
All right, let's get to your Farwell Show 5 for this Wednesday morning, the 3rd of September. Number 1, regional police have made an arrest following an armed robbery in Kitchener on the weekend. It happened Monday afternoon at a business in the Highland Road and Lawrence Avenue area. Man held up the store at knife point before fleeing. A 39-year-old man now facing charges of robbery and failing to comply with probation. Meantime, police also continuing to investigate a fatal motorcycle crash in Kitchener. Happened Sunday night at Homer Watson and Bleems, where a car and motorcycle collided. Anyone who witnessed the crash or who has dash cam footage is asked to call police. Number 2, the Ontario government is awarding a combined total of nearly $16.7 million to the cities of Kitchener and Waterloo through the second round of the Building Faster Fund, which provides funding to municipalities that achieve at least 80% of their provincially designated housing targets. Kitchener receiving about $10.3 million for achieving 105% of its housing target, while Waterloo is getting $6.4 million for achieving 129% of its housing target. Kitchener and Waterloo broke ground on nearly 5,000 new homes last year. Number 3 on your Farwell Show 5 this morning, the region believes light rail is the best option for Cambridge as it updates a business plan for Phase 2 of rapid transit. Officials say even though rail costs more than rapid buses, trains would bring a greater economic benefit. Public consultation on the second phase of rapid transit continues, with a report expected back to Regional Council in November. An updated cost estimate to get light rail into Cambridge has the total at $4.3 billion. That's down from $4.5 billion. Number 4, Prime Minister Mark Carney's cabinet begins its 2-day retreat in Toronto today to talk trade and defense spending. Ministers expected to spend most of their time discussing U.S. President Donald Trump's trade war at the rebranded Cabinet Planning Forum. Cabinet recently approved a decision to tamp down Canada's tariff retaliation. This week's meetings come 2 weeks before the House of Commons is to return for the fall sitting and about a month before Carney's new government presents its first federal budget. And number 5 on your Farwell Show 5 this morning, in case you were wondering how things were going in the highest offices in the land, which would be the Oval Office in Washington and the office of the Premier in Ontario, Canada's largest province.
When 20 people are killed over the last 2.5 weeks and 75 are shot with bullets, there's no place in the world, including you can go to Afghanistan, you can go to places that you would think of, they don't even come close to this. Chicago is a hellhole right now.
Have you lost your mind? Like, I think they're a few fries short of a Happy Meal, these people. I always say smart people aren't too smart, and you guys are about as dumb as a bag of hammers for doing this. So, you know something? I found a bottle, and I don't even drink, of Crown Oil, right? I see that Crown Oil. I saw it at home. So this is what I think about Crown Oil. That's what they could do. And I think everyone else should do the same thing. Start supporting companies that make whiskey here by Ontario people. That's what we need to do, is support each other.
That is U.S. President Donald Trump talking about moving the National Guard into Chicago to deal with gun violence, and Ontario Premier Doug Ford dumping a bottle of Crown Royal onto the ground at a manufacturing plant in Kitchener. Dumb as a bag of hammers. And that is your Farwell Show 5 for this Wednesday morning, the 3rd of September. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, what if I told you there was a place? This place exists in our world. And by the way, this is a place that has even more speed cameras than we have here in the region. But this place, this fantastical place I'm about to tell you about, does not take your money. Well, it kind of takes your money for violating the speed limit when you get caught by a speed camera, but it offers you a reward. It's going to give you that money back. I'll tell you about this fantastic place coming up on the Mike Farwell Show. This is 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. So, how are you feeling about speed cameras these days? I'm sure you heard the news when we got the update yesterday afternoon from our regional government as to how our speed camera program is working. Still think it's a cash grab? If you do still think it's a cash grab, it's because it is, and I've got proof of that coming up. But you're welcome to weigh in on our speed camera program at 519-570-2545, star 570, 1-800-570-5715. Of the highlights that we learned yesterday in the update from the region, approximately just under 56,000 tickets handed out in the first 6 months of speed camera operation here in the region, which is an average of just over 300 tickets per day being doled out. The average cost of one of those tickets, about $108. Most people, mind you, being caught by the cameras only one time. So you get that ticket in the mail, and apparently that is enough to change your behavior. So I suppose that's a good thing. One of the statistics that we got yesterday that really resonated with me was the fact that the region reports 2 million incidents of speeding over the 6 months of the program. Now, again, about 56,000 tickets handed out, but 2 million incidents of speeding. Presumably, that would be as little as 1 kilometer over the speed limit, which, by the way, the region says it does not ticket for 1 kilometer over, but we're still not being told what the threshold actually is for tickets. 312 per day, 56,000 tickets over 6 months. Average cost of that ticket, $108. If you're interested, the 2 cameras that have caught the most drivers in our region, the camera on Weber Street at Sunnyside Public School. That's a 4-lane road, Weber. Be very careful there. And, surprise, surprise, another 4-lane road, Westmount, at Laurentian Public School. So, just in case you're curious, if you were caught at one of those 2 locations, you're not alone. Those were the most frequently caught speeders at Sunnyside on Weber Street and at Laurentian on Westmount Road. And I just did a little math. You take about 56,000 tickets, you take an average of $108 per ticket, and that is $6 million in revenue collected by our speed cameras in their first 6 months of operation. Now, where does that money go? We know that we have to pay the camera operators, right? And they're not local companies that have put those cameras in place. So we're paying somebody somewhere the money to operate them. And we learn that the program is not yet broken even though it's collected $6 million. So here's the thing. Is it or is it not a cash grab? I say still again, yes, absolutely. Because here's that magical place I mentioned before the break. Did you know that in Sweden, which, by the way, you think we have a lot of speed cameras? Even if we get to the 175 speed cameras we hope to get to in the region, Sweden, nationwide, mind you, but still, Sweden has about 2,500 speed cameras. But what they decided to do, instead of merely punishing drivers for exceeding the speed limit, they offered a reward to you for meeting the speed limit or even perhaps driving below. Every vehicle that kept to the limit had their license plate entered into a lottery. And that lottery prize was the amount of money collected from the speeders. So you speed, you still get fined. But instead of keeping the money, i.e. cash grabbing it from you, they put it into a lottery and use that lottery to reward the drivers who do not exceed the speed limit. That's what they've decided to do in Sweden. And furthermore, I mentioned those 2,500 cameras, almost 2,500 cameras in Sweden. And I've been barking about this for quite some time. I'm like, the person driving 54 kilometers in a 40 zone is not the maniac on the road you're looking for. And I think Sweden's figured this out too, because the issue has been an important one in political circles in Sweden. And they say, well, the argument now is talking only about speeds is wrong. I will quote, "We have people driving under the influence of alcohol, drugs, vehicles with driving bans, and quite extensive illegal professional traffic. And that's what you're letting go if you just focus on cameras and think that will solve the problem of fatal accidents in traffic. Now we've said no." Can we be more like Sweden? This is what you have to target if it's about safety. If it's not about safety, then just keep taking our money from us. I get it. Paul is on the phone with us. Good morning, Paul.
Good morning. How you doing?
Good.
Listen, I can go to this one corner, and I can turn around and look all the ways around. One section's 30 kilometers an hour. Another section is 40 kilometers an hour, like adjacent to it. Another one's 50 kilometers an hour. Once upon a time, as you entered a town, the sign said, speed limit, 30 miles per hour unless otherwise posted. And by otherwise posted, they meant roads that were a little larger and a little higher volume where it might be 40 miles per hour. And back then we had this program called Elmer the Safety Elephant, where we taught kids that, first off, look both ways before you cross the street. Cross the street at a corner, not in the middle. Do not run out from between parked cars. We taught kids not to walk up the center of the street, assuming that everybody's going to stop and go around them. We taught them responsibility. Yes, there was less traffic back then and less people, but still, we do not teach kids any responsibility for themselves. And as such, nowadays, I drive down...
Paul, I'm out of time. I'm out of time.
I run down concession roads.
I'm literally out of time.
Dashboard instead of watching what's coming up in front of me.
I'm out of time. Are roads unsafe, or are we using them unsafely? This is the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
Lowe's knows you've got a job to do, and we help get it done. With the MyLowe's Pro Rewards program, eligible members save more with volume discounts on qualifying orders through a quote of $2,000 or more. Join for free today. Lowe's, we help, you save. Offer can't be combined with any other discount, contract, and/or special pricing. Exclusions, more terms, and restrictions apply. Details at lowes.com/terms. Subject to change.
This is where today's topics turn into today's talking points. It's local and it's Democratic radio at its finest. This is the Mike Farwell Show on 570 News Radio.
The ministry will fund 90% of the eligible project costs and 100% of the eligible planning, design, financing, and transaction costs. Funding the remaining 10% of all eligible project costs and any costs not eligible for ministry funding are the financial responsibility of the hospital. These costs are also known as the hospital's local share for the project.
The Mike Farwell Show continues
on 570 News Radio.
The local share for the project. Regional Chair Karen Redmond bringing forward a motion at a regional council meeting last week to talk about that very thing. As you heard in that clip from the motion that Chair Redmond brought forward, yes, the provincial government, the Ministry of Health, funds that 90%, but the remaining 10% is on the shoulders of us as a community. So there are two questions here. One is, how much is that 10% share? And I've heard numbers upwards of $1 billion. And the other big question then is, how do we go about funding $1 billion right here in the community? Just as a point of reference, we could look at light rail transit phase 1, $868 million, for which we as a community were on the hook for 1/3, in and around $270 million, I believe was the number. Anyway, I guess to put it more to the point, we have never, as a community, been asked to fund something of this magnitude. And so the motion comes forward at council last week, and Regional Chair Karen Redmond joins us on the show this morning to talk about it. So, Chair Redmond, can we start with the motion itself? Why did you bring this motion forward?
So when there is major infrastructure like a hospital, the ministry will fund 90% of the eligible project costs and 100% of eligible planning, design, financing, those kinds of things. But the rest of that 10% and non-eligible parts of the project are what's known as the local share. And we know it's going to be a lot of money, and we know that this new hospital, so the Waterloo Region Health Network is the group that's putting this forward, has to come up with a plan that involves municipalities, civil society, as well as their foundations on how we make that 10%. Ren's been very clear in saying that it will be phased, so I want us to get our arms around it so that people understand what is the magnitude of our local share and what part the region would play.
You do allude to that amount as being a lot. I've heard numbers upwards of $1 billion. Do we have any idea, Chair Redmond, what that number will look like?
It's part of why we've asked Ren to come forward and present a framework for the local share, because we know it's going to be a huge number. We also know that these are economic times that are uncertain for many people, many families. So we want to be able to plot the way forward that is affordable. There's only one taxpayer, Mike, and we know that. And we know that people are hurting, and we know that the rate of taxes as it goes up continues to be issues for people.
You talk about taxpayers, and I was wondering about options here when it comes to that local share. Could there be, might there be, some sort of capital campaign where the community fundraises a portion? Maybe there's corporate support, or is this all going to be on the municipal tax levy? What options do we have here?
Well, exactly what you've outlined, Mike. I would hope that it will be the foundation, it will be corporate Canada, corporate Waterloo Region, and it will be individuals. We know there are very many generous people within the community, but there's also the impact on our services and our infrastructure. You know, this new hospital will impact paramedics, transit, water, and public health, and we want a better understanding of how that affects and the ripple effect that happens with regional services as we go forward.
So Why is this? Because as I understand it, REN, the Waterloo Regional Health Network, meets regularly with executive staff at the regional government. Why is this on REN's back? Why is council asking the foundation for this or the health network for this and not just relying on regional staff that are in these constant meetings?
So it is up to REN to come up with a plan. And we want to be very clear that the community is engaged as well as regional council so that there is a plan going forward. So really it's trying to get our arms around a very large number. The main objective of the focus is focusing on local share for the hospital, but we also recognize we need a holistic view of hospital services across the region. We know eventually Cambridge Memorial Hospital we need to upgrade, and so will the other REN sites. So the funding framework needs to establish a long-term solution. So it is about the new hospital, but it's not just the new hospital.
You bring up Cambridge, and I know that was the subject of some conversation at the council meeting when you brought this motion forward, Chair Redmond. And I wonder where Cambridge Memorial Hospital fits into all of this, because as we rebranded to the Waterloo Regional Health Network, we've now got the REN at Midtown, the REN at Queens Boulevard, but we don't have a REN at Coronation Boulevard in Cambridge. It's still Cambridge Memorial Hospital. Where does that hospital fit into our structure?
Well, Cambridge Memorial Hospital has been at the table, the planning table, all the way along, and we recognize that this is a health care network, and we also recognize that depending on where the hospital site that accepts emergency, where those paramedics go, could really impact whether those ambulances are going to Cambridge, going to Midtown in Kitchener, or in Waterloo. So those are all the kinds of impacts that I was alluding to when we want to know how this impacts our paramedic staff, and paramedics is a responsibility of the region. So transit, for people going who are patients, for people who want to go visit patients, all of those things need to figure out what that impact looks like. And it does come down to finances, but it also comes down to good planning, Mike. And we want to make sure that the community is engaged. So one of the parts of my motion was actually that REN come forward with a framework of how they're going to engage the public for exactly the reason you cited, right? Is it foundation? Is it community foundations? Is it civil society? Is it levels of government? We want to know that going forward.
Is there a timeline on this, when REN should be bringing that plan back to Regional Council?
I didn't put a hard timeline on it because there are other processes going on for planning right now. I know that the 8 CAOs are engaged in that. I have been intermittently, but we want the public to be engaged. So this is looked at, in my view, as complementary to those things that are already going, to the design, to the cost, to the phasing, so that we're able to take a clear picture to the community when we ask them to become engaged.
Do we know what the phasing might look like? If we've got a 10-year project, roughly, to have the hospital built, would we expect a 10-year phasing for this amount of money?
Yes, I would say that this is at least a decade's worth of support. And in the past, we've done that. We've put money aside historically to buy MRIs. We've contributed to Cambridge Memorial's upgrades over the years. So this isn't a role that the region hasn't played before, but there is no doubt that these numbers are very large, and this will be over a span of time.
Chair Redmond, always appreciate your time on the show. Thank you very much for being here.
Thanks for your interest in this.
Regional Chair Karen Redmond joining us to talk about the motion that she brought forward to Regional Council last week, which will direct REN, our Waterloo Regional Health Network, to bring forward its plan for how we fund our local community share of the new hospital project. Likely a 10-year plan, likely as much as, or at least possibly as much as $1 billion for the community to come up with. And so the question becomes, how do we fund an amount of that size? Is it through increases to regional taxes? Don't shoot the messenger here. These are just the ideas or the potential funding sources. And I say that with a great deal of trepidation because I, like you, pay my regional taxes and have felt the sting of those double-digit tax increases of the past couple of years, and that's without a $1 billion hospital funding plan as part of that municipal tax levy. So, and to be honest with you, I don't think all of the money would be expected to come from the tax base. But if not, there would be some sort of fundraising drive or drives in the community, likely over a 10-year period, to raise how much of that potentially $1 billion. And then, of course, the corporate support, which we know, if you've ever been to a hospital and read the various plaques on the wall or went to this room or that room that's got a name on it that's so named because somebody gave a very generous amount of money to ensure that room or that piece of equipment existed. And so corporate KW, if you will, would be expected, I would assume, to pay some of that $1 billion price tag. What do I like about this? What I like about it is that the conversation is starting now, before we even put a shovel in the ground at that hospital. So this suggests to me that we are at least trying to be proactive. I don't love that there's not a timeline attached to it yet, because you know how I feel lately about our ability to get big things done or our progress on big things. I'm looking at you, Transit Terminal. So I think that makes me a little bit nervous, because without firm timelines, then we're not putting into place the timelines within that broader timeline, if you will. At this point, we need to have this part of the plan. At this point, we need to have this much of the money, whatever that looks like. I suspect that will come. The good news is we're talking about it now. The more challenging aspect of this is where we come up with the money. How do you think we should fund the local share of this hospital project? Should it be on the municipal tax base? Should it be through fundraising in the community? Should corporate Waterloo Region be expected to step up and foot the bill for that new hospital? A combination of all of the above? Would love to get your thoughts on how we fund our local share of the new hospital. Could be as much as $1 billion. 519-570-2545, star 570, and 1-800-570-5715. This is the Mike Farwell Show on 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
The main objective of the focus is focusing on local share for the hospital, but we also recognize we need a holistic view of hospital services across the region. We know eventually Cambridge Memorial Hospital we need to upgrade, and so will the other REN sites. So the funding framework needs to establish a long-term solution. So it is about the new hospital, but it's not just the new hospital.
Healthcare is so interesting. We talk about it quite a bit. The sick care system, as I like to call it. And we think about the system as being funded through our provincial tax dollars, provincial income taxes, etc., because it's under the provincial Ministry of Health, right? But all that the ministry funds is the building, the people working within it, all of that equipment. You hear about these fundraising drives all the ding-dang time to get the necessary equipment. Hospitals are continually, it seems, in fundraising mode. And I'm not knocking them for that. That's just the reality. And I think sometimes we forget that aspect of how the system works here in the province. That was Regional Chair Karen Redmond, who brought forward a motion last week asking that our Waterloo Regional Health Network, our REN, bring forward its plan for how we intend on funding our local share of that new hospital, which is being built out on the grounds of the University of Waterloo, Barringer Road area in the Research and Tech Park. It could be, 10%, could be talking upwards of $1 billion. And I was just thinking on the Scotland's Yard ball hockey tournament as an example, which is a tremendous initiative, grassroots from the community, trying to ensure that we have better access to care for children dealing with cancer in this community. And their goal, they just passed $1 million with their tournament this year. Their goal is to raise $50 million, which is incredibly ambitious, again, for something grassroots. We're looking at maybe something 20 times that if we're getting upwards of $1 billion that we're talking about here of funding required. So how do we go about funding our local share of that hospital bill? 519-570-2545, star 570, 1-800-570-5715. Brenda, good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing?
I'm doing just fine, thank you. How are you?
Oh, not too bad. I have a solution for this funding.
I love it. Okay.
A really good one. Well, on the news last night, there's going to be 15 new speed cameras allocated in a month in Kitchener. Okay, that's what they reported. Now, the revenue from all these speed cameras, sure, it goes for infrastructure. There will be money left over in the pot. It should be used to fund the new hospital. And I'm surprised you didn't ask Karen Redmond about that, because I know that there'll be money left over in the pot that should be used. Not our tax dollars. We pay enough tax dollars, but the leftover funds, and there will be, because they keep adding new speed cameras, and they will be, should be used to fund that new hospital. And that's my thinking and math and everything else. I've done the math and everything else, and, well, that's how I looked at the solution.
All right, Brenda, thanks for that. Here's the thing. I'll say two things about this. I like where you're coming from, and, we should fund it through speed camera revenue and not taxes. Speed cameras are a tax, period. Make no mistake about that. And we are told that the revenues generated by speed cameras will be put back into road infrastructure, road improvements, safety enhancements, etc. That's what the money is supposed to be used for. But I have a feeling that once our government officials get their little paws on the money from the speed cameras, the hospital is the last place. And it's not even supposed to be under the way the program is designed. It's not even supposed to be allocated to something else. I do like where you're coming from, though, because Lord knows, with $6 million collected in just 6 months, there will be plenty of revenue to go around from the speed cameras as we continue to add them to streets in our community. George, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Mike. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, doing really well. Double O George here, by the way.
Double O George, Farwell's Force member, Clark Griswold, 00.
That is correct. Mike, you know how we do this? We go grassroots and we go Farwell for hire. We're the Farwell Force, not just you, the Farwell Force. We get our butts in action, and we raise that up to $1 billion.
George, I love your optimism. I love your attitude. I love your support for Farwell for hire, because clearly you're plugged in and know that for the past 12 years, we have brought this for hire fundraising campaign to the community, whereby I go out and offer my services, and they are limited, believe you me, but to do an odd job in exchange for a donation to cystic fibrosis research. Over those 12 years, $1.6 million raised for cystic fibrosis research. Not a bad number. Certainly, we are incredibly proud of that, and we're incredibly grateful to you as a community for getting behind us and helping us get to that number that we never would have believed we could reach, 1.6 million over 12 years. But, oh, George, even with 156 more of you, the members currently of Farwell's Force, and we're a force for good, we're a force for change, we're a force to be reckoned with, but that's a long way from $1 billion, which is the key in all of this. But I do love what you're thinking and how you're thinking. My hunch in this is that we will see a sort of all of the above when it comes to funding the local share of this hospital. Absolutely. Our hospital foundation will be out in the public aggressively fundraising and setting ambitious targets. I have no doubt about that. Our corporate community will be called upon, and our private donors / philanthropists will be called on to make sure this happens. And I also believe that we, as ratepayers, taxpayers here in the region, will also be asked to fund through our property taxes, a level of this, likely up to $1 billion to fund our local share of the new hospital. I've got an update from the 570 News Center on the way for you, and then we mind Ottawa's business with the Blacklocks reporter next on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. It is the only reporter-owned and operated newsroom covering our nation's capital. It is the Blacklocks Reporter, something I recommend your subscription to at blacklocks.ca. You'll find the kind of stuff that you simply won't find anywhere else. They do a great job of keeping their eyes and ears on Ottawa. And every Wednesday morning at this time, the managing editor of Blacklocks Reporter, Tom Korski, joins us for a little chat. Tom, good morning.
Morning, Mike.
The federal NDP leadership race is underway. Somebody wants to lead that beleaguered party in Ottawa, but it seems as though the interim leader right now has a pretty good idea of what went wrong for the New Democrats.
Very, very candid comments. His name is Don Davies. He's originally from Alberta, now MP for Vancouver Kingsway. Was former counsel for the Teamsters in the day. So he comes from the trade union side of the party. That's the old Farmer Labor Party in the West. I've known Mr. Davies for 40 years, and I was not surprised. He had very candid comments. He said the party was burnt to the ground, got immersed in identity politics, was a waste of time, that the Conservatives beat them with a stick when it came to dealing with the working people, especially the working poor, and went on to say that they were distracted, as he put it, his words, about drag reading in libraries or trans women in sports when they should have been talking about real bread and butter, and puts it all on the former leader, Jagmeet Singh. Fatal mistake, the beginning of the end, he said, when Jagmeet voted confidence 3 times when in the Liberal cabinet, the Trudeau cabinet, when they were up in the polls, Mike, they were up to 21%. Fatal mistake, he said. And now where are they?
Exactly, where are they? And how do they possibly recover from this, Tom, I think is a big question.
They have a leadership contest now. They'll elect a new leader March 29th in Winnipeg. They just started to set up the infrastructure for that yesterday. I have to say, I'm not the amazing Kreskin, Mike, but the last time that they lost party status, you're crawling out of a deep hole. That's a 15-year project for the New Democratic Party. And the last time that they played in even what Davies describes as a coalition with the Liberal Party, that goes way back to David Lewis. You know, they ate that at the doorstep for a generation. I knew New Democrats who complained at the time. This goes back to the early 80s. They said every time they went to the door and someone would say, why would I vote for you if you're just going to vote Liberal? What do I need the middleman for? It took them a long time to live that down.
Speaking of Liberals, Prime Minister Carney appointing the other week his person to lead the Nation Building Projects office, a woman by the name of Dawn Farrell. There's been much said about her, particularly her office being in Calgary. What do we know about Ms. Farrell?
Well, she has one unique distinction, almost unique, not unprecedented, but a rare, extraordinary distinction among former heads of Crown corporations. She used to be chief executive of Trans Mountain when it was owned by taxpayers. And she was named in a federal court filing by government lawyers for breaching an act of Parliament. She was twice ignored direct orders, which, by the way, have the weight of court orders, by the Information Commissioner to disclose information concerning public records sought by the public under the Access to Information Act. She had to be taken to court, Mike. They had to drag her before a federal judge before she would comply with an order of the Information Commissioner in compliance with an act of Parliament. Why does this even matter? I'll tell you. There are concerns. This has been expressed by old-timers right here in Ottawa, that that special projects office is all behind closed doors, that there are going to be people cutting up deals, and no one is going to know what's happening. They're not doing this in public. And this woman, the Queen of Secrets, the woman who had to be taken to federal court, Dawn Farrell, is the last person you want if you're worried about transparency or accountability. Oh, watch that office. Keep a close eye on that one.
Well, we'll have to now. And this is the frustrating part, Tom, for folks who believe that what we have done by virtue of this last election is kind of reelected the same old, same old. It's a different face at the top in Mark Carney, but with this difficulty getting answers and things happening in secret, we believe, is it really that much different a Liberal Party right now?
No, there's no doubt. You're into year 11. I mean, when you're 11 years, managing the team, and which is what Cabinet has been doing under its various iterations, I mean, it's not like you save the good stuff, the jam and cookies for year 11. What you see is pretty much what you get. Parliament's back, on the 15th? I think it's going to be a box of fireworks, Mike, I really do. They don't have the votes in committees. The opposition is steaming mad. I think the era of good feeling that lasted all summer is it's fading. It's fading in the twilight, Mike.
All right. I'm going to file this in the "if you don't laugh, you'll cry" department, because I read about this program from time to time, and it always makes me cringe. And here we are again, going back to a Trudeau-era program. But like you just said, we're in year 11 anyway. 2 billion trees, Tom. We are planting 2 billion trees in this country. It was a promise. How much have we spent on the trees we have not yet planted of that 2 billion?
Oh, it's staggering, isn't it? Department of Natural Resources, this goes back 2 campaigns. They have spent $268 million. They're short of their target, 89%. My favorite was a public service manager in charge of tree planting, questioned in committee, who said, we're probably never going to plant 2 billion trees anyhow. To which one MP, Michael Cram from Regina, said, so why do you call it the 2 billion tree program? And she said, well, we wanted to rally interest among Canadians. We wanted to get people excited about tree planting. The gazillion tree program. It was sad and funny.
All right, one more before I let you go, and that is a class action lawsuit that alleges racism in government workplaces. That's what the suit alleges. What has a federal judge said about that suit?
Dismissed the case. This is the second time a federal judge in 5 months has thrown out class action claims by federal employees alleging systemic workplace discrimination. In both cases, the judges came to very similar conclusions. As the federal judge said in this case, the fact that you, what did he say? The plaintiffs accepted being identified as racialized does not necessarily mean you have experienced racism or discrimination, end of quote. In other words, there is no smoking gun. There is no memo that says do not promote or hire racialized people. Feelings and suspicions are not enough. Class action lawsuits a very high bar, Mike, and they haven't met it yet.
Tom, love the work that you do. Keep it up, and we'll talk in a week's time.
Thank you, Michael.
Tom Korski is the managing editor of the Blacklocks Reporter, the only reporter-owned and operated newsroom covering our nation's capital with neither politics nor punditry. You'll get there at blacklocks.ca, what you won't get anywhere else. I strongly encourage you to check it out. The subscription cost is certainly worth it for the great work that these reporters are doing. Just looking at blacklocks.ca and Minding Ottawa is where you'll find them on X. And one of the recent posts, thanks for the reminder, I've just resubscribed. Proud to support all the vital work that you do. It is important. That's why Blacklocks does the work that it does, and why we bring managing editor Tom Korski onto this show every Wednesday morning at 10 o'clock. A little bit of Minding Ottawa's business on the Mike Farwell Show. 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
Disinfectant.
Well, I know for certain that this is craft beer for community impact because it is sitting right in front of me here in the studio, called United Wave Amber Ale. And by its name, maybe you've pieced together that it is in support of United Way Waterloo Region communities. Scott Hamilton is the Senior Director of Philanthropy there and joins me in studio. Captain Canuck himself, good morning.
Good morning, Mike. How you doing today?
I'm doing just fine. How about you?
The kids have been dropped off to school, so mission accomplished, and I made it here in studio on time. So 2 wins in the morning. It's a good way to start the day.
I hope you didn't have to go through too many of those dangerous speed camera-filled school zones on your way here.
I heard there are 50 new cameras being installed in Kitchener on your show on the way up, so I was diligent, cautious. I arrived at the speed limit, safe and sound.
How did it go with the drop-off today, if I may ask? I mean, this is a big day in families' lives, and it comes around every year.
It's bittersweet because on the one hand, it's great to see your little ones go back off to school, but it's another reminder, like a year older, they went in smoothly, happy. My older son is in grade 2. My daughter's going into senior kindergarten. So sad to see them go, but also it's a weight off of our minds when we have to go to work in the day, knowing they're at school and we don't have to send them to camp all the time.
Fair enough. And a good reminder to folks that, you know, we have conversations with you in your role as a city councillor in Cambridge for Ward 7, here today as the Senior Director of Philanthropy with United Way Waterloo Region Communities. And you also have a life and a family outside of all of this that you juggle like so many of us do. So just like everybody else in the region, putting in the time to get all of the necessary things done, including this amber ale called United Wave. This is in partnership with Wavemaker in the Preston part of Cambridge?
That's correct. So Wavemaker Brewing at 639 Laurel Street in Cambridge, we connected with them earlier in the year, and at United Way, we're always excited to engage any organization that wants to raise money for local charities in creative ways. And Wavemaker got chatting with us and said, well, why don't we brew a craft beer, and with every pour or with every can sold, we'll give a little bit back to local charities. So on the one hand, you're supporting local restaurants, local businesses, local brewers. And on the other hand, with every can you purchase or every pour that you share with friends, you're giving money back to charity. And so here, Mike, sitting in front of you, you have my very first 4 United Wave Amber Ales that I purchased from Wavemaker Brewing. And you can go in, you can purchase them today. They're on sale from September 1st until December 31st. And I want to be clear, these are from the funds of Scott. I did not use any donor funds to purchase these beers for you. But it's nice knowing you can share some great local craft beers with friends while also giving back to charity with every single can. So it's a win-win, supporting local businesses and also supporting charity in the process.
Wavemaker is such a cool spot, and I love where they're at on Laurel Ave, as you mentioned, in Preston, because right there kind of in the mix of the residential, you run into this beautiful little spot. And partnerships like this, Scott, must mean a whole heck of a lot to the United Way.
United Way is all about supporting all aspects of our community, Mike. So we help raise funds for mental health, homelessness, housing, addictions, illiteracy, food insecurity, children and youth. And when we work with an organization like Wavemaker, I suggest anyone that hasn't been to go check it out. Again, it's 639 Laurel Street in Cambridge. The brewmaster, Scott Potler, is usually always there cooking up something amazing. It's a really cool environment. Like, it's very family friendly. Pets are welcome. There's cornhole. There are games to play. And Scott actually just won a silver at the Canadian Brewing Awards for his Belgian quadruple. I can't pronounce it properly. So not only is it a great vibe, it's a great local business, but the beers they make are fantastic. And again, I don't condone nor condemn the consumption of adult beverages, Mike. It's everyone's choice. But knowing that if you go there, there are non-alcoholic options as well, and that you're supporting a local business that is now giving back to the community through United Way, that's truly beneficial for everyone. And it's been a lot of fun in the process, working with Scott, working with Wavemaker. And I invite anyone that hasn't been there to either check it out on their own time or to come down tomorrow, September 4th, from 5 to 8 p.m. We're doing the official launch of United Wave Amber Ale. From 5 p.m. to 8 we'll have a chat with Scott and the CEO of United Way, Joan Fisk, at about 6 p.m. But come on in, pour a pint of craft beer for charity, grab some cans to go, great gifts for friends or family, and you're truly supporting local in the process.
I've never been one to shy away from an adult beverage. I enjoy a wobbly pop or two from time to time. Did you or the United Way have any say in this being an amber ale as opposed to a Belgian quadruple or anything else? How did it come up? How did it turn out to be an amber ale?
This was in conversation with Scott, the brewmaster at Wavemaker. We knew that he was eager to give back to the community, and we just said, you know your drinks the best, you know the seasons the best. When you think giving back to charity in the fall, from September through December, what drink comes to mind? What's seasonable? What's fashionable? And he said, well, we're cooking up a new batch of amber ale. It's perfect for the fall season. It's great over Christmas as well. And so we went with it. We thought the name was appropriate. It combines both United Way and Wavemaker. And I have to give a shout out to a member of my team. Leslie Hendrickson has worked extremely hard on this project in the design, in the admin, and bringing it to fruition, and also going out and sourcing local restaurants that can participate. So if you own a bar out there, if you own a restaurant, contact Scott at Wavemaker and say, I want to get United Wave on tap, or I want to sell these cans. And you can also participate in giving back to the community and supporting charities through selling United Wave. And right now we actually have M&M Bar and Grill in Cambridge, Imperial Restaurant in New Hamburg, and Canadian Brewhouse in Kitchener. They've all signed on, and we're hoping to get more businesses along the way that want to join in on the community support.
That's fantastic. So when we're at any of those restaurants, we can get, or we can ask for our United Wave, and that's also helping to contribute to the United Way Waterloo Region communities.
Yeah, 100%. An amazing beer for an amazing cause, and you can go out and grab a pint and know that you are helping your neighbors in need in the process. So.
I feel pretty special, Scott, because you said that the public launch isn't until tomorrow, 5 o'clock at Wavemaker in Preston, and we've got 4 sitting right here in the studio already.
I had to twist Scott's arm and his mother, Doris.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you.
Sometimes Doris works behind the taps as well, but I thought, what a great way to kick it off, right? Than to bring United Wave on the airwaves with yourself, Mike, and to let the community know that if you want to go out there, again, support local businesses, breweries, and local charities, grab a can of United Wave. We welcome anyone to come down tomorrow night to our launch. Again, Wavemaker, 639 Laurel Street in Preston, 5 to 8 p.m.
You mentioned earlier the various initiatives that United Way Waterloo Region community is involved in funding in our community. And the fundraising piece, Scott, I'm sure as somebody in your line of work, director of philanthropy, you're always looking for these new ways to reach out to the community. And it seems to me that fundraising is virtually constant for you at the United Way.
It's a constant, and it's a real challenge right now, considering the economic challenges we're facing. There's tariff threats in the news every day. And it's not just United Way. I'd say it's every charity across the country is actually experiencing a decline in donations. The Ontario Giving Report goes through this in depth. But a long story short, we really have to think of creative ways to engage the community and show people that despite all the crises we're facing, and we know them very well, we talk about them every day, and I listen to them on your show, we have to put it sounds cheesy, but we have to put the fun back in fundraising. We have to remind people that when you go and you support local charities, it can really be a community building experience. It can be social, it can be enjoyable, it can be a lot of fun. And with this United Way of Amber Ale, I think it's a case in point where supporting local charities can really be an experience where you bring people together, you support local businesses, and as the expression goes, a rising tide lifts all ships. And that's what we're going with here.
We've always enjoyed our visits to Wavemaker, and this is a good reminder that we're overdue to get back, so we'll make sure we're there. Again, that public launch tomorrow from 5 until 8. Wavemaker is on Laurel Street in the Preston part of Cambridge, not far from King and Eagle. It's right in that neck of the woods. And can you remind us those restaurants again? M&M Barbecue, Imperial Market and Eatery, and Canadian Brewhouse?
So far, we've got M&M Bar and Grill in Cambridge, Imperial Restaurant in New Hamburg, and Canadian Brewhouse in Kitchener. And we're hoping to add a whole lot more to that list. And if you're interested, reach out to Scott Potler at Wavemaker, and he'll set you up, and you can give back to charity as well.
Love these connections, the way they come together, a local small business supporting United Way Waterloo Region communities. It is United Wave Amber Ale, and it's on sale officially tomorrow. Well, it started September the 1st. The launch is tomorrow until the end of the year. All funds, 50% cents from every pour or every can going to United Way.
Yep, you can go in today. It actually opens September 1st. The launch is tomorrow, but anyone who's listening right now, if you're in the Preston area, go on in, grab some good beers, and support charity in the process. We would appreciate it.
I appreciate everything you do, Scott. Thanks for being here this morning.
Thanks for the time, Mike. Appreciate it.
Scott Hamilton is the Director of Philanthropy with United Way Waterloo Region Communities. Watch for United Wave Amber Ale. Enjoy an adult beverage and support the United Way Waterloo Region Communities at the same time. This is the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. Well, we go from talking about a new beer being brewed at Wave Maker in Cambridge for United Way Waterloo Region Communities. It's called United Wave, and my last guest in studio brought 4 beers. Now I've got 3 guests in studio, 0 beers brought. I mean, like, guys, did you get that the memo here is that you come into the studio? I've got 2 more studio guests today. Dear studio guests coming, bring beer. The fellas in studio with me right now. Rob Way is here. Rob is the chair of the Hockey Helps the Homeless Waterloo Region Volunteer Committee. Always good to see you, Rob. Good morning.
Good morning, Mike. How are you?
I'm excellent. And
Good.
you?
Great.
Good.
Great.
Craig Herner is here as well, vice chair of that volunteer committee. Good morning to you, Craig.
Good morning, Mike.
And Wayne Paddock joins us, CEO of the Cambridge Shelter Corporation. Always good to see you, Wayne.
Good morning, Mike. Thanks for having us.
Great to have you here. Rob, you brought equipment for starters. Like, you've got the bucket, you've got the gloves, you've got the twig. We're going to drop the gloves today. What's going on?
Well, you see, the way I look at it, we're giving you the opportunity.
We forgot also. So, hey, dear future studio guests today, bring beer and turn off your cell phones. I think Rob has to take an important call, so he's going to duck out. He's got his helmet.
You threw the phone out.
Wow, you threw your phone, not even in a fit of rage. Well done, Rob.
No. So we're giving you the opportunity to play Canada's favorite pastime, hockey. So I thought I would bring you the stick and the hat and the gloves because we're looking for players at this point. We had a team that at the last minute pulled out of our tournament, so we've created what we call a free agent team.
Nice.
So if a group of guys want to get together and join our tournament and play, if you're the center on a dynamic beer league line and you'd like to have some fun, we'd love to have you.
All right. How can people sign up if they're interested in participating, being this free agent team? How do they do that?
So if they could just email robway@rogers.com and we'll get them signed up. And it's a great experience. They're treated like a pro for the day. And I'd welcome folks to sign up and be part of what we're doing.
All right. It's a real easy email. Rob, 3 letters, Way, 3 letters. RobWay@rogers.com. Drop Rob a note. Let's fill that free agent team. And as we're 51 days now away, Rob, from the tournament, how are things looking sponsorship-wise, fundraising-wise?
So we're in great shape for sponsorship. We're very, very lucky in that most of our sponsors come back every year. And they've been super supportive, and each year we're able to add additional sponsors, so we're in good shape there. If we can fill out this team, we've got volunteers. We're so lucky because we always have lots of volunteers who sign up for our event and help out. So I think we're ready to go. We just got to get the fundraising going and get the players out there raising money.
All right. RobWay@rogers.com. Drop Rob an email. Let's fill that free agent team. It's always a great time at the tournament. Your chance to play alongside former pro or Olympian, and it's a great day of hockey for sure. Wayne, let's bring it over to you because by the name of this tournament, now we're entering our 12th. We know what this is all about. Hockey helping the homeless. And Cambridge Shelter Corporation is one of the beneficiaries of the fundraising. What does this money mean to Cambridge Shelter Corporation?
This money is it's over the top. Like, it's as one of the largest donors to our organization, this tournament it just means so much to, myself and the staff, and some of the staff who actually play in the tournament got the experience last year of being involved and seeing how well run the tournament is. It goes beyond words what this tournament means. And it's not just a one-day event. It's a year-long relationship with these guys and their committee, with our fundraising team. And it really means a lot just to kind of be included in what they're doing. So it's very important.
Can you give us a sense, Wayne, of where we're at when it comes to the need in Cambridge right now and what you're seeing at the Shelter Corporation of late?
I mean, we're seeing a lot of seniors coming into shelter now who are aging into homelessness because they simply can't afford rent anymore. I think we're at 45% of our folks are over the age of 60. So that's a disturbing number, that in our community that we have that many folks, men and women, who can't afford housing. So that's really the crisis, is the housing cost and affordable housing, which just isn't there. And it's not just Cambridge, it's right across the country. So that, again, we see it on the streets. We see folks living on the streets. We see folks, being on the streets because they have nowhere else to go, and there just isn't enough community space for them. So it's an epidemic of its own.
Craig Herner, let me bring it over to you, Vice Chair of the Volunteer Committee. And first of all, is volunteer your middle name? Because you have been at this, I think, since day one, and you seem to be pretty busy when it comes to volunteer work.
Yeah, definitely. So, my middle name must be Volunteer. And, I've kind of cut back on other things and just concentrating mostly on Hockey Helps the Homeless and One Roof. So, it keeps me busy. How
do you make sure that people know about Hockey Helps the Homeless Waterloo Region?
Yeah, so basically I do the social media channels. So basically, if you go to HHTHWR on Facebook or Instagram, you can find us there and follow everything that's going on. And also, you go into the website at wr.hhth.com. You'll get lots of details there as well.
All right. A couple of weeks from this Friday, which is September the 19th, there is a little fundraiser coming up called the Puck Drop Luncheon. What's it all about? How can we participate?
Yeah, so beyond the tournament, we do a lot of other things during the year, and this luncheon is kind of an annual one that Mel Berry, who used to be on our committee, basically runs, but I kind of help him a lot nowadays, get it going and everything. But so it's at the KW Naval Club on 315 Weber Street North in Waterloo, and it's from 11:30 to 2 p.m. And basically, it's a great time. We have hot dogs, beans, and this year we're adding some chips and desserts in there as well.
Can I come just for dessert, Craig?
Yeah, you can, sure. Your show will be done in time. You can pop on over afterwards. So
I love it.
Yeah, and it's only $15, and you can just go to our website again at wr.hhth.com, and there's a luncheon fundraiser link right up on the navigation menu for you to get tickets for it.
All right, wr.hhth.com. Get your tickets, just $15 for the Puck Drop Luncheon fundraiser on Friday, September the 19th.
And Mike, just some fun things we're going to do with this is, because this is our first one and it's dropping the puck facing off against homelessness, we're going to have some celebrity face-offs. So the mayors against each other. I mean, if you could make it, it'd be Habs against the Leaf face-off.
Just watch your language over there,
so
Rob.
We could have some fun with this, but really, we're going to do some little bit of challenges on face-offs as part of the event as well. So it should be fun.
My money in the celebrity face-offs is not on the mayor of Kitchener. I saw him on the news last night. He's got like an oven mitt on one hand. I don't know what he did to his left arm, but he will not be very good on the face-offs.
We've actually got Dave Schneider in his place.
Oh, sure. That's
Well, Habs fan.
I
So
know,
we brought
exactly.
a Habs fan in because we knew he'd be successful. So.
Do you do this on purpose, Rob? Because you know how much I like you. That's
Kinda
It flows. 2 times you've mentioned the team that shall not be named. I can't bleep you or hang up on you when you're in studio with me. Okay, so this Puck Drop fundraiser on September the 19th that we want people to get out, support. It's going to be a good time, help to raise some of the money. But this is what it's all about, Rob. And I know over 11 years we have raised an incredible amount of money through this tournament in our community. Can you give us a sense of what we've accomplished?
Yeah, so I mean, we've raised close to $3 million. By the end of this year, we'll be at $3 million. And that's actual, not raised, that's actual money we've given to the charity partners. And that's a big difference when you're talking about the actual net investment that's made. And so, we have so many folks, over 240 players, that look forward each year to being part of this event and to raise money for this event and to help out the homeless in the region. And that's a big activation of folks that are now interested in helping out with homelessness. So not only is it raising all the money, but it's also such an awareness creator as well.
All right, we're going to get over that $3 million mark this year. I have no doubt that we will. And Wayne, at the Cambridge Shelter Corporation, you talked about what this money means and the depth of the need that we are seeing. But as an organization, I know you do lots of fundraising. Having something kind of third party like this must just give you just that little bit of relief that you don't have to go find these, $50,000, $60,000, $100,000 that comes in.
Oh, it absolutely does. It's definitely a relief when the check comes in, after the event, and yeah, we look forward to being a part of the day. And like I said, I love being at the event. It's such a well-run event that, you're just proud to be a part of what Rob's put together over the last 11, 12 years. It's really impressive work from the volunteer committee, Craig and Rob and all of your fellow volunteers. And Wayne, we know the great work being done at the Cambridge Shelter Corporation. So thank you for that. Thanks, and we wish you a great tournament again this year.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks for being here. Craig Herner, Rob Way with the Volunteer Committee for Hockey Helps the Homeless Waterloo Region. Remember, a free agent team needs to be filled. You get a chance to play alongside one of those pros or former Olympians. Send Rob an email, robway@rogers.com. And don't forget to get your tickets for the Puck Drop Luncheon fundraiser on September the 19th. Just $15. You can get them online, wr.hhth.com. Along with Craig and Rob, Wayne Paddock in Studio 2, the CEO of the Cambridge Shelter Corporation. This is the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. We are redefining retirement here in the region of Waterloo with a new kind of retirement, powered by kindness and fueled by community. Jen Gernowicz is the founder and chief compassion officer with Techie Nesters, which is the technology behind this new kind of community. And Jen joins the program this morning. Good morning, Jen.
Good morning, Mike. Thank you for having me on here today.
It's an absolute pleasure. You had me at new kind of retirement because it always interests me the different ways we can spend those years when we are no longer working. So what is Techie Nesters?
Well, I do like to refer to it as a new kind of retirement because often we're looking for purpose, camaraderie, connection, things that make us feel seen and needed and relevant post-retirement. And that's often a struggle for people. So Techie Nesters, essentially, we set out to make living in your own home longer possible while giving you purpose, keeping monthly costs low, and navigating this world of technology that's changing so rapidly. So in reality, it's not just for retirees, but it's for anybody looking for those things. So essentially, for one annual fee, members who come into our nest are police checked and reference checked. So we create a safe nest, and they give and get help amongst one another without any additional recurring costs. So once you're in the nest, kindness is actually the only currency that we have. And the best part is you don't have to ask someone for help. You don't have to look for a place to offer help. You simply call your compassion concierge, and everything gets orchestrated for you, like things like grocery shopping, transportation to doctor's appointments, or light home repairs, help with gardening. We have a long list of things, and some things we don't even think of that people ask for that are really great ideas and really purposeful. So, it removes the awkwardness of having to wait for a family member or, bug a friend. And because you've paid your annual fee, you really have that ability to call your concierge, and they send out the bird call to the nest, and whoever's available and wants to do it and can do it does it. And so it's a nice little community of reciprocity where everyone's contributing and consuming, as we say.
What was the inspiration for the idea, Jen?
Well, I have a little story about what inspired me. I was looking at just the growing crisis in aging in place support And our population in Canada, as you know, is outpacing the traditional care models. I don't think the system is equipped right now to meet any of the emotional, social, or logistical needs of people who want to stay in their own homes. So I was looking at my parents, and, they're in their home. That's where their memories live. And, all of our family dinners and, coffees on the porch. And all the little things seem to be big things now, like changing a light bulb, climbing a ladder to do that. A printer that suddenly won't connect to Wi-Fi and their whole world is come down, or they can't connect to their FaceTime with the grandchildren, feeling isolated that way, or just feeling not as smart as other people, or not feeling like they're keeping up fast enough. So in looking at that situation, $5,000 renovation budget to add a grab bar or two in the bathroom is solving one problem, but it's not adding life. It doesn't make them feel any less alone, and it doesn't create any connection. So at the end of the day, what my parents and so many others, I think really want isn't a bigger bathroom or more expenses every month. They want to belong, and they want to keep living in the place that they love with people who see them, where they can gather and people care for them, and people who count on them too. Because I always go back to this issue with relevancy. And as we age, it's a really big struggle. So I believe that living purpose through a business that matters is good business. And so it really inspired me to start Techie Nesters.
Where is Techie Nesters already being used, and what's the reaction to it being?
Well, I'm from Collingwood, and that's where I grew up, and that's where my entire family is. And so I live in Toronto, but I started the Nest in Collingwood as our first location for obvious reasons. Just with family there, I wanted to make sure they had the support first and foremost, and also they could be my best focus group because they're super honest with their feedback, which I appreciate. So that has been our starting ground. We started a little over a year ago, and we have about 100 members in the Collingwood area. We went into Kitchener in the fall, talked to a tech group there, and said that this would be coming later this year, and asked if there were any early birds who wanted to come on board. And so we have a small nest in Kitchener that is unofficially launched, but they have been doing things like, I think someone went over and put some bathroom shelves in someone's bathroom for them that they ordered off of Wayfair, and someone else helped someone declutter and move heavy summer furniture from the garage out to the backyard. So the birds are busy, as we say, in Kitchener already. But we have a big presentation coming up on this Sunday on the 7th at Rockway Centre at 1 o'clock. So we're inviting anyone in the community that would like to come and hear about it. We'd love to have people come out and sign up. And every community that we're entering, we're going to be in 25 locations by the end of 25. And the first 25 people in every nest get special early bird pricing.
I love the idea of providing greater opportunity to age in place. We know how much those homes mean to people. And I'm glad you mentioned that presentation coming up on Sunday at Rockway Centre from 1 until 2:30. Do folks have to register? How do they take part in that, Jen?
They can register they can either call, or they can just go online to techienesters.com. And there's on the website, they can certainly fill out a form. But we also have our local number. I can provide that. It's 519-745-2775. 519-745-2775. You can also go online, techienesters.com. The presentation coming up on Sunday from 1 until 2:30 at Rockway Centre in Kitchener. Right. Jen, love the idea. Thanks very much for joining the show today to tell us more about it. Thanks for having me online.
Jen Gernowicz is the founder and chief compassion officer with Techie Nesters. It's a new way to look at retirement and really allows one to age in place, stay in their own home longer by getting support to do that through this community of nesters. The birds in that nest helping you not only remain connected, but also to stay in your home a little bit longer. You can attend that free presentation coming up on Sunday at the Rockway Center from 1 until 2:30. Again, if you need that phone number, I can provide it for you. Just drop me an email, mike@570news.com, or go online to techienesters.com, and you can sign up there if you're already online or prefer to do things that way. All right, we are running up against the clock. An update from the 570 News Center is on the way, and then something that we do every Wednesday morning at 11 a.m., and that is talk to the one and the only Blue Jay Hunter. And I don't know about you, but I would like this race to the playoffs and this race for first place in the American League East for the Blue Jays to be a little less stressful, please. What are we going to do about that bullpen? Blue Jay Hunter joins us next, and you're invited to be a part of the conversation on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
The Whiz Kids had won it, Bobby Thompson had done it, and Yogi read the comics all the while. Rock and roll was being born, marijuana we would scorn. So down on the corner the national pastime went on trial. We're talking baseball, Klazuski, Campanella, talking baseball. The man and Bobby Fella, the Scooter, the Barber and the Nuke. They knew them all from Boston to Dubuque, especially Willie, Mickey and the Duke.
Well, that sound can mean only one thing. It's Wednesday morning. It's just after the 11 o'clock news, and he's back. I did a very poor job of informing you last week that our regularly scheduled Blue Jays talk with the one and only Blue Jay Hunter would not happen. And I accepted your wrath because I deserved it. What happened to Blue Jay Hunter? You were supposed to be on this morning at 11 o'clock, you told me, and you were right, because I forgot to tell you that, like, even Blue Jay Hunter takes some vacation, okay? But Ian is back in studio with us. The Blue Jays are still in first place. So first of all, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed the vacation.
Thank you. Yeah, I was demoted to the minors for a week, so I'm called back up to the Blue Jays bullpen this week.
Because we're expanding our playoff roster, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So, yeah, I was kind of being sarcastic that, Blue Jays are still in first place, so everything's fine. Except it's really not fine. The one thing that is particularly unfine, as I make up a word, is the bullpen. What on earth, Blue Jay Hunter, is going on with the relief pitching?
The most logical explanation is just everybody is on the schneid at the same time. Every single reliever in that Blue Jays bullpen, there's not really a guy you can trust 100% right now. Last night's game, that probably might have been the most uncomfortable 12-run game the Jays have ever played, right? It never felt, even when they went up 8-1 in the second, you thought, oh man, they're going to have to turn it over. One, they're going to have to turn it over to the bullpen at some point. And two, Barrios still has to get through this, a guy who hasn't been great as of late. And, luckily they kind of squeaked by, winning by 3 runs, even though they scored 12. But yes, the bullpen has been a huge sore spot for this team in the second half. They have the second worst ERA in baseball in the second half. Guys, they can't seem to throw strikes. Jeff Hoffman is giving up home runs left, right, and center. Brendan Little, as we've seen over the last week or so, can't find the strike zone. So everyone's going through it right now. I guess the one thing you can kind of take solace in if you're a Jays fan is that every team are experiencing these humps. Like the Yankees went through this about a month ago, but the Red Sox earlier this season. So it's never going to be a smooth ride from April to September, but it's just felt as of late, especially when you hand the game over to the bullpen, there hasn't been a rock solid outing, save from last night when the Jays they had the bullpen gave up no walks, which was shocking. But yeah, it's been some difficult watches over the last few weeks.
It's funny you mentioned that every team goes through this, and the Red Sox have, et cetera, et cetera. And I heard this morning in one of Simon Bennett's reports about the game from last night that the Blue Jays, by virtue of their win last night, have the best record in the American League. Now, a half game ahead of the Detroit Tigers. So, again, everything's great, except when you watch the team closely and you watch this bullpen, you get nervous.
Right. You'd think the sky is falling. This is a last-place team. But, yeah, they're first place. Overall, like the Tigers lost, the Astros lost, so the Jays are still in a fairly good spot. They're 2.5 up on the Red Sox and the Yankees, which is essentially 3 games because they own tiebreakers over both of them. And they're heading into a really important series against the Yankees this weekend. So the Blue Jays can add a little bit of cushion. But it's weird. I think the tone has kind of shifted in Blue Jays land, right? Like it was in previous years, it was always, you're just happy to be here. And yeah, okay, we'll squeak in as a third wild card and we'll be an underdog. But this year, they're a bit of a juggernaut, right? And in Blue Jays land, I think a lot of people, it's an unfamiliar feeling, right? So when they lose 2 out of 3, it feels like they're just going to squander the entire season, which, I think they're comfortably going to get into the postseason. I don't know about winning the division or getting a bye. Obviously, that would be great. But yeah, the standards have shifted. Like the fans expect more from this team now. So especially when they took over the division lead and they've had it for a month plus, a month and a half plus now. All of a sudden, when you lose that, it feels like you've squandered it. But I think they'll be okay. It's just especially the bullpen is going through a really rough patch right now.
5-game leads feel better than 2.5-game leads, says Captain Obvious sitting here. I know you like to talk Blue Jays baseball with Blue Jay Hunter, and we always keep the phone lines open to you. So let's go to Lisa this morning. Good morning, Lisa.
Good morning, Mike. Good morning, Ian.
Hi, Lisa.
How are you?
Good. How's it going today?
Good. The bullpen is a little bit of a thing right now, and I like to see John Schneider certainly seems to be doing all kinds of different things as far as the lineup and the batters, the people that he's switching out, and getting different people coming in and hitting that you don't expect near the end of the game. Speaking of bullpen, another sighting of Alek Manoah in dugout a week or so ago, not playing, obviously, but I'm just wondering if there's a potential that they're going to bring him up to try pitching again, or it's just weird to see him in the dugout when he's not in the lineup. He's not officially up. He's just kind of there hanging out.
Yeah, it's always weird when guys are injured or rehabbing. And you're like, oh, hey, like the other day, I think I saw Anthony Santander taking batting practice at the Rogers Center. I was like, oh, I haven't seen this dude for 4 months. He still exists. But yeah, Manoah had a strong outing in Buffalo his last go around. I think he went 6 innings. So I'm still reluctant to say whether he might get a call up here, maybe like a spot start or something, because he is rehabbing from Tommy John. He wasn't quite as far along in the rehab process as Shane Bieber was. So I still think the Blue Jays I don't think they're rushing to bring him in. I think if a starter suffers an injury, then we're having a different conversation. But as of right now, I don't think he's a guy who makes an appearance down the stretch here or comes in the playoffs. I just think they're trying to just bring him along because it's been a long road back for Manoah, right? It's been, 2-3 years since his breakout year. You don't want to screw it up by throwing him into the fire in the middle of a pennant race. So we'll see. I'm going to say no for now, Lisa, but, things can obviously change here in a few weeks.
It's a great question, and I know a lot of people are interested in Manoah just because of that breakout season. He was a likable guy. You want to, and certainly the Blue Jays need some arms. Just going back to what you were saying before we talked to Lisa about feeling as though the Blue Jays will comfortably make the playoffs, and they've been in first place, a month and a half. It just strikes me, Ian, that like fans, we have to get used to this too, being the hunted as opposed to the hunters, right? Trying to get in. We're going to get that third wild card spot. It's a big race to catch the other teams in September. not only do we have to learn what this is like again when you're the team being chased, but also I just get the feeling that it's not supposed to be stressful like this. It's supposed to be stressful because the Yankees win 6 in a row and you go 4-2 or something. Like they start chipping away, as opposed to it's stressful because you don't trust a part of your team, which is the bullpen.
Yeah, I think especially as we get into September, from the fan perspective at least, there's much more scoreboard watching, right? In May and June, you're keeping tabs on the Yankees and the Red Sox or teams below you or ahead of you, but it's not live or die. And in this month, I think there's a lot of people that you're basically rooting against whichever team is playing for the Yankees or the Red Sox in all these series. So the stakes are much higher. The standards are, it's a different echelon now that when you're in a first place team, it's no longer, maybe we'll just play 500 ball the rest of the way and we'll get in as the first wild card or the second wild card. No, when you've had a taste of potentially winning your first division in 10 years, I mean, taking that away it's going to feel like you've been robbed, right? So, yeah, I just think, as I said, the standards have changed. And I think overall they'll be okay, but it's just every loss, it always sometimes it feels like the sky is falling when in actuality, it's not. I think it kind of rolls off the players' backs because they do this 162 times. If they were deflated by every single loss, they probably wouldn't come out for the next game, right? You just kind of have to forget it and move on.
Ian Hunter is the Blue Jay Hunter. We move on with our conversation, and I want to know how much it's going to take if the Blue Jays think they're signing this guy long term. That and more as we continue with Blue Jay Hunter here on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. Wednesday mornings at 11, Ian Hunter. He is the Blue Jay Hunter, and he joins us in studio to talk Blue Jays baseball. You can talk baseball with us at 519-570-2545, star 570, 1-800-570-5715. I'm trying to remember who said it first. Was it Blair? Was it Barker? It doesn't matter. But I had been thinking it, and it's a career year in a contract year for Bo Bichette. And there was all this talk coming into this year, Ian, how the Blue Jays were going to keep them both, or do you just work on Vladdy and don't worry about Bo? They got Vladdy. How on earth is this team going to be able to keep Bo Bichette after the season he is having? Forget it.
Yeah, I mean, this is a quintessential bet on yourself year from Bo Bichette. Last year was a bit of an anomaly and wasn't really production related. I think it was more so had to do with his injury, and he was suffering that at the end of the 2023 season as well. But I would say he's all the way back, right? Like, he leads the league in hits and doubles this year. He could be on track for a 200 hit, 20 home run, 100 RBI season as a shortstop. So that's incredibly rare. Like, Bobby Witt Jr. did that last year, but it hasn't been done prior to that since 2006. A Blue Jay shortstop has never had a season like that before. So, I think it's gonna cost a boatload of money, and I don't think he's necessarily going to give the Blue Jays a hometown discount. I know he said when asked this year that he wants to play with Vlad. I think that's kind of the typical answer a player of that caliber would say. The most recent comparable on the free agent market was Willie Adames. He signed a 7-year, $182 million deal with the Giants last year. I think that's the absolute bare minimum we're looking at here. Bobby Witt Jr. signed an 11-year, almost $300 million extension. So maybe we split the difference here and say it's probably I'm going to say in the 225, 240 range is probably what he's looking at. And it's going to be, 7, 8, 9 years. It's going to be a lot of money. But again, I think if you want to keep your window of contention open, which the Blue Jays certainly do because they spent $500 million on Vlad, what's another $250 on Bo, right? It's just money. And I think he's shown that he's back to being the player that you can depend on. And if anything, he's been a little bit better this year because he's cut his his strikeout rate is down a tad. He's walking a bit more and making tons of contact. So I don't know if the Jays, I don't want to say if they can afford him, but I just think the bright lights of free agency, there's probably going to be some team that's going to pay him a stupid amount of money. And if you're a free agent, how could you not take that? Unless you want to play with a contender like the Dodgers or the Yankees. I don't, he's not taking a hometown discount to stay in Toronto. If the Jays are going to have to re-sign him, they're going to have to pay market value.
That's the part that concerns me, the bright lights of free agency, as you put it. And it kind of hurts my heart that you don't think there's a hometown discount here. And I get it. I would just like to think, like, look, Vladdy's in the first year of this big contract. Obviously, the commitment's been made. This team is really right now only at the beginning. Do you want to be in first place in September for the next 9 years? Sign in Toronto. That could be an argument, but that may not be enough to sway them because those lights are so bright in free agency.
Yeah, and I guess it also depends because players they just don't value money. They want to win, right? So it probably also depends on how far the Blue Jays potentially go in the postseason this year. I mean, if they make a deep run, maybe that convinces Bo, okay, this is the beginning of something special here. We can be a contender for years to come, and having Vlad, those two guys in lockstep, that's going to be huge. But yeah, if the Yankees come along and say, hey, want to sign for $300 million, I think that's going to be really hard to turn down.
All right. Another guy I just wanted to touch on because I don't know how you cannot talk about the 36-year young, emphasis on young, George Springer. Another 2 homers last night. And look, you're not going to get this again from George Springer next year, but boy, oh boy, is it fun to watch this year.
Yeah, it's so he's third in OPS in Major League Baseball behind Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani.
Incredible.
George Springer's third on that list. He's doing this at age 35. Doesn't turn 36 for a few more weeks.
Sorry, George. Sorry. Happy early birthday.
Yeah, he's not in his late 30s yet. He's still in his mid 30s. We haven't seen this kind of production from a 35-plus-year-old in several years. Like Nelson Cruz did it in 2019 and 2020. It's incredibly rare. Like, he's probably going to get MVP votes. He's arguably been probably one of the Jays' most valuable offensive players this year. And he's kind of back to his heyday when he was with the Astros in 2018 and 19, which is incredibly exciting, right? Like, this is the George Springer that we were not promised, but most fans expected to see in the early years of that Blue Jays contract, right? And now we're seeing it at the tail end at age 35, which is crazy, right? Like, when that deal was signed, most people expected, okay, the last couple of years, probably going to be a write-off. Now he's having his most productive year in this contract in the second last year of the deal. It's crazy. Like, I assumed going into this year, he had a really bad spring training, right? Like, and his bat speed was down, and he had a bad year last year, and I just assumed Jays are probably going to release him this year. Well, turns out I'm a complete idiot, Mike. So, this has been like such an incredible story, right? Like, where would the Blue Jays be without George Springer? And this is something that nobody saw coming. So it's been such a pleasant surprise to watch.
Is there anybody in the tunnel from the Blue Jays to go banging on a garbage can? Have we confirmed this or not? No?
Yeah, maybe we shouldn't bring that up.
Okay, we won't bring that up. I get the sense, Ian, final point before we let you go, but teams we get, I think, used to in sports, they kind of have to learn to lose before they learn to win. And this Blue Jays team was, wild card entry, don't win a playoff game, and all of a sudden now they're the top of the heap. And yeah. I think this is an interesting time for the team because they seem to have skipped some steps in the middle, and now they have to learn how to play with all of this pressure as being the hunted as opposed to the hunters.
Yeah, it's absolutely a different dynamic. I think when they first broke through during that COVID season in 2020, it was like, okay, it's a shortened season. We made the playoffs. Okay, that's great. Let's see how far we can go. And there wasn't that much disappointment. But then year after year, it's like, okay, well, it's a stronger team. Their expectations have suddenly changed. And as you've said, this regime is still not they've been in the playoffs. This core has not performed well in the playoffs. They still haven't won a game. Now it's like, to me, it feels like World Series or bust this year. I feel like anything short of that is going to be viewed as a disappointment. And I think that's probably the mentality the players are taking too, right? Like they know they have a solid core. They have guys who are kind of playing above their weight this year, and you don't want to squander that opportunity. So I feel like, yeah, everyone in that clubhouse is probably thinking we're going to go all the way. And if they don't, they're going to view it as not happy to be here anymore. It's going to be viewed as a disappointment, even if they win a series or two.
So much fun right now. So we'll try our best to enjoy the ride. Strap in because the roller coaster isn't yet finished. Keep hands and feet inside the vehicle until the ride comes to a complete stop. Thanks, Ian.
You're welcome.
Ian Hunter is the Blue Jay Hunter. Joins us every Wednesday morning, 11 o'clock, to talk about our first place Toronto Blue Jays. Will they still be in first when Ian comes back next week? This is the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. We are very fortunate in this community where we live. Every Wednesday morning at 11:30, we do a little thing on the show called Political R&D. It's so named because the guest who joins us has the initials R&D, Rob Deutschman. And the reason we do this segment is so that you can get a better understanding of what goes on in the hallowed halls of government. Rob, a former mayor in North Dumfries, a former regional councillor, a former provincial candidate, brings that perspective. But, you know, when Rob can't be here, we have other people that we can turn to with that same level of political experience. Karen Coviello is in studio with me, former councillor in Waterloo, former provincial candidate, and somebody who gets what's going on in those halls of political power. Good morning.
Good morning.
I know you can help us break down some of these things that go on and what you see from a high level in politics. So let's start with, because I watched you and read you from posts that you've made, kind of go back and forth on this whole idea of regional council's recent decision to not hold a by-election, but instead to appoint a new member. How did this all look to you?
Well, it looked different along the way. And I think that's something we need to pay attention to, is that we need to think a little deeper on things when we have the opportunity to do so. So when it first came to be, and there was a lot of change at regional council, including a provincial election that was happening that had three of the sitting regional councillors running for office, maybe two. And there was a potential, though, that there was going to be a big block of empty seats, specifically in Kitchener. There was a timing issue, and then there was the unfortunate loss of Carrie Williams, and that, you know, took a lot of people by surprise. Beautiful young woman, and representing that community in a fresh new way, and that voice was lost on council. And all of a sudden, regional council has an opportunity and the ability to decide how to proceed. And then you look at the calendar and you realize, well, gosh, we have an election next year. And then you look at the budgets and you think, my word, we're in a pickle, right? Like this is a very tough fiscal environment that we're in. And when you put all those pieces together, you know, you can make a case. You can make a case, and somebody did. I'm not sure if it came from council or from staff, that we have an option legally and legislatively to appoint a candidate, and that candidate can come from perhaps a list of prior candidates, or it can come from an applied list, or it can come from whatever. Like, council has some discretion there, and they made an option. They made a choice. To the first case, when Councillor Deutschman resigned to run for his political seat, they appointed the next person on the list, and to a lot of people that makes sense, right? Because it's like, okay, well, I didn't maybe vote for that guy, but this guy came next, right? So you can make a case for that. The second time around, maybe that list got a little shorter, or maybe, I don't know, did they go and talk to the person on the next list and maybe they didn't like them? Or maybe that person's like, heck no, I don't want to go near this mess. And they made a different choice. And they put that call out, And they had the opportunity for anybody across the region to step forward and say, I want to have a shot at this seat, and invited candidates to apply. I think we were all kind of like impressed with the fact that there were 44 people. And I'm like, well, that's cool. I like that. I like that 44 people in this moment in time.
And we never would have got that many in a by-election.
Oh, gosh, no.
Not a chance.
Maybe like 2.
Right.
Right? Yeah. Because running an election is like, some people like it, but it's not fun. But some people for some people, it's a hobby. Let's be clear. But for most people, it's not like the best. It's a very hard, expensive, challenging experience for people. So they had these 44 people, and they came and they got to make their pitch, and 44 people stood up and expressed their vision and their contributions and their history and their resume, and that was beautiful. That was beautiful. I wish we could have like community pitch nights on a regular basis, right?
Yeah.
Like, come and tell us what you think. They were wonderful. And then the voting started. And at that time, going into that, I was thinking, okay, there's some promise here. Like, there's diverse candidates. There's representation from all sorts of places. Still, it was very biased towards white male candidates. I've done some data crunching, and half of the candidates were white, and half of 2/3 of those candidates were male. We have demographic things that we need to think about in this community. But there was an opportunity for regional council to actually step forward and say, yeah, we've got an opportunity here to put a fresh voice on here that could honor Carrie Williams and honor what she brought to the council. And we have an opportunity to save $800,000, which, when you think about it, yeah, $800,000 is a heck of a lot of money. It's $1 a person, $1 and change a person in this community for democracy, the price of democracy. And then they started voting. And I felt I was watching an episode of Survivor. I could not believe what I was seeing. That literally they voted, and then they had a short list, and then they put somebody's name in the hat, and they picked that name out of the hat, and they told that person they're off the island. See you later, wonderful person from the Perimeter Institute with a PhD and has experience in childcare and all these incredible things that you could bring to the table. You're voted off the island because we picked your name out of a hat, and we carried on. And there were 3 candidates at the end that were women, and one that was a male. And who do you think prevailed, Mike?
It was the male. Joe Gowing prevailed.
Yeah. And so I just left a sour taste in my mouth. The other thing I'll say, and I'll say it publicly, they were organized. Those councillors were organized. There was a block of councillors that were organized going to this vote. And I thought to myself, that's not cool. You didn't come into that vote and listen to those people. You came into those vote with a plan. That vote with a plan, and it was obvious. And I don't like that. I don't like that.
Organized from the get-go, so Joe Gowing was their candidate.
100%.
And,
You can't. There will nothing that anybody will ever say will convince me that that's not the case. I don't know Joe Gowing. The only thing I really know about Joe Gowing, he owns a basset hound, like me. So he's got to be a good guy. Right? That's what I've been told. Sure. That's what somebody said to me. He has a basset hound. I'm like, good. That means he's a nice guy. Right? Other than that, there were some people that stood forward who have had long, hard commitments to this community that I think had their hearts broken that day by what they saw. And that's not okay. That's not okay for us. It's not okay for the Region of Waterloo Council. And it's not okay for democracy in this community.
I agree with that last statement wholeheartedly. And one of the challenges we get with this process being used, Karen, is that what we're asking of regional council is pretty tall, I think, by way of an order, because are you just going to keep something that relatively maintains the status quo? Or are you going to make things uncomfortable for yourself?
Of course, there's one answer to that question,
right.
Mike.
What are they going to do? What they did.
Yeah.
The comfortable choice.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was split. Like this is not all of the council. There were 2 camps here. And I think there's 2 camps on everything right now, which is interesting to watch.
It'll be interesting to watch what happens in a year's time.
If anyone's paying
13
attention.
months from now. Yeah, well.
Is anyone paying attention? That's my goal over the next year. Is anyone paying attention to what's going on? Because in absence of people paying attention, all you get is what we get. All we get is the status quo. All we get is apathy. All we get is people picking somebody for that empty seat who's going to agree with them. That's what we get if we're not paying attention. That's a problem.
Our goal with this segment is that very thing, helping people understand better so we pay more attention. And I'll tell you this, I've got a goal too in the next year. I want speed cameras to be a municipal election issue. I want it not on the ballot, but when people come to your door, I want you to tell them flat out. Because I want speed cameras to be an election issue. And I know, Karen, you've been digesting the data that was shared from the region yesterday when it comes to speed cameras. So we'll talk about that as we continue. Political R&D this morning with our special guest, KC. Karen Coviello with us on the Mike Farwell Show. 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. Very pleased to have with me in studio today, former Waterloo City Councillor and former candidate in a provincial election in the Waterloo riding, Karen Coviello. Political R&D, Rob Deutschman away today, Karen Coviello filling in and more than capably as always. The region told us yesterday, Karen, and made it clear to each of us who was listening that the speed camera program, gosh darn it, it's working. Average speeds are lower. Most people only get ticketed once. So clearly, they're not just avoiding the cameras. They've all slowed down after one $108 ticket. But about 56,000 tickets issued over 6 months, an average of about 300 a day. What do you make of what you heard from the region yesterday?
Well, I was glad to see them release the data after all that hoo-hoo about we can't release the data. That was utterly ridiculous. And this is our data. This is our data. This is our data. This is not their data. This is our data. We as a citizenry are generating this data, and it's our right to have this data. That's my first point on that. Secondly, for every single one of those points they put forward, there's a counterpoint. And you mentioned one of them. I live in a little bit of a neighborhood. I live in a neighborhood that has a little clunch of schools around it. So we've got Bluevale High School. We've got St. Agnes. We have the French Catholic School. We've got Lincoln Heights. Like, there's a lot of schools in my neighborhood. So you never know what the speed limit is. Sometimes it's 30, sometimes it's 40, sometimes it's 50. You've got Earp Street, Bridgeport, all those pieces. Like, it is like a cacophony of speed limits all over the place. Then you've got your speed cameras. And I can tell you that people are like, seriously? There's like spray paint all over their speed cameras. And people don't like the speed cameras. And whatever the data tells you, it's too late. It's, in my mind, it's too late. If you went and looked at the article on the Record and read the comment section, which is always an entertaining way to spend your morning coffee, it's too late. This political argument is done for the region of Waterloo. People hate it. People hate the speed cameras. You could come and it comes back to this idea that there's no logic in politics, right? People think that there should be logical answers, and in politics there aren't. People hate this program in this community. And last week, they put forward some kind of recommendation to get the province to do some standardization. The region of Waterloo knows that people hate this program. The politicians know that people hate this program because they're trying to lift it up.
That's what I wondered.
They're trying to lift it up.
Exactly.
Like,
now it's Doug Ford's problem.
Now it's Doug Ford's problem.
Yes, I thought the same thing.
So he can come and pour a bottle of whiskey on top of it, right? Like, whatever. So much positioning and politicking going on around this. But I think you're right. Like, I think you would be hard-pressed to run this election next year and not be spending your time answering questions about the speed cameras because people hate them. I'm not a speeder. I speed on the highways where it makes sense. I do not. I'm too nosy to speed in the city. I like to look around. I like to look at people's gardens. I like to watch for kids. There's some dogs. I'm not a speeder in this community. I'm probably not going to get a ticket. Knock on wood. I'm not going to get a ticket. And I wish people would slow down because I have seen terrible behavior. But these speed cameras are not the way to curb this behavior. I think people are finding alternate routes. I think people are changing their behavior in a moment of time. So if there's a speed camera in front of Blueville, they're just right there. And then they pick up their regular behavior elsewhere. I think if you look at the behavioral science of this, it just doesn't make sense. And the label, everybody needs a good tagline. Cash grab. Cash grab will live on this program for the rest of its existence. And so from the political reality point of it, it's done. They have to figure out how to manage their way out of this because the people of this community hate it.
I feel similarly to you. I don't think I'm likely to end up with a ticket because I get accused of driving like a grandpa, and I'm fine with that. I enjoy my drives, although I was on concession in Cambridge a couple of weeks ago, 4 lanes, and I wasn't paying enough attention to see the sign. And my beloved said, oh my gosh, oh wait, coming soon. But I thought I was already into the zone. So a reminder, and I was only doing, quote unquote, only 63 because I looked down immediately. And it was a 60 zone, except when the camera is about to come. So watch it. And there are lots of zones like that. The 2 cameras getting the most people, Weber Street on a 4-lane at Sunnyside.
That was interesting.
Westmount Road,
Guess I'm not driving down Weber.
Exactly. But it was pretty easy for me that day. I was with traffic. It didn't feel fast, but I wasn't paying enough attention. So that might catch me sometime, but that's a sidebar to all of this. And so can the region, like it feels, Karen, like what you're saying is politically, regional council either digs in or gives up. Because there's no question. I'm with you, and I hear it on this show almost every day. We do. We hate the speed cameras. We believe it is a cash grab, and I believe that. I 100% believe that. It's just a new tax, simple as that. So how does a municipal government reconcile this? What does it do?
They're just going to have to make a decision, or we're going to be really lucky, and Uncle Doug's going to make a decision, which he's likely to do, right? Like that's his style. Is that the premier will say this is nonsense. End this nonsense. That's his style. And I think they're probably a little bit, some of them are hoping that he does it. Time will tell.
Yeah, because it takes them off the hook for it then. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. There are a lot of good reasons for speed cameras. There's a lot of good reasons for trying to do things to slow down the speeds in this community. Like, we all see it. We all see the dumb behavior that we see. I was driving in front of Eastwood recently, where there's also like a coming soon municipal speed camera. And I was passed by somebody who was probably going 120. And I thought, okay, that's ridiculous. And I also I don't really, as a taxpayer, want our police officers having to deal all the time with speed control. Like, that's just ridiculous too, right? Because there's better things they can be doing. Why can't we just behave better? Why can't we as a community just say, listen, this is why government goes into this overreach mode, right? It's because we can't. Yeah. So, there's no easy answer here for them. But the thing is, the reality is, it could be the smartest program on the planet, and it could be, as they were trying to illustrate in that article this morning, it could be working. People hate it. People hate it.
And so you've already lost in the court of public opinion.
You're done. So don't go out in front of it. Don't stand in front of this thing. Like politicians, right? Like, they're going to look for the off-ramp.
Right.
Just the way it is.
And they're going to listen, one would presume, to the response from the public, their constituents in this regard.
Yeah. Time will tell. Time will tell. I think they were hoping that this morning's article would kind of calm the waters, but I don't think it did.
It didn't with me, because I did the quick math. If the average ticket is $108 and 56,000 tickets have been issued, that's $6 million. $6 million. And that,
we need it though, Mike. That's the problem. That's the other problem, is that we need that money.
I get it. But there are 2 data points for me still missing. I want to know what the threshold is. I really do. At what, like 3 over, 6 over?
But they didn't want to disclose that.
They won't disclose that. And I want to know what the revenue breakdown is, because one of my big beefs with this is somebody, like, this is a cottage industry now. Whoever puts in, right, the speed camera managers or whoever, whatever they are, somebody's getting paid. Yeah. Like, we're not keeping all $6 million.
Yeah.
So that's information that I'm really interested in.
I don't think I'm that thrilled about having cameras in my neighborhood either.
Well,
that's a whole other thing. But, look what happened a couple weeks ago with those cameras that were in the rec centers and how they were left on and like all that nonsense. I don't think people like that. That kind of thing about being watched.
Absolutely.
I don't think people like it.
I want this to be an election issue. I can't wait for this to be an election issue in a year's time. I am so grateful that you were able to step up, sit in, and share some wisdom with us today. Thanks for doing this.
You bet, Mike. There's not a shortage of cranky former politicians in this community. You could have like a whole rotating menu of people to come in here and just, share their perspective on things.
It's funny you said that because I was trying to be very diplomatic when I started saying we are so lucky in this community.
Right.
Rob can't be here. I'll call Karen. But you're right. There's
Tom
a
Galloway.
I know.
Tom Galloway would come to...
Can I get Carl Zare on the phone? Like, I could find a whole bunch that want to complain. Ken Sealing, you're next.
Oh, that'd be juicy.
Karen, thank you.
You bet. Nice to see you, my friend.
You as well. Waterloo councillor, former Waterloo councillor, and candidate for provincial MPP.
Quit saying that. That was like a nightmare in my life.
I'm sorry, but you were, and that's why you bring the wisdom.
You learn a lot about how
do.
horrible party politics is.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
This is the Mike Farwell Show, political R&D, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
Take out the papers and the trash, or you don't get no spending cash. If you don't scrub that kitchen floor, you ain't gonna rock and roll no more. Yakety yak.
Don't talk back.
Just finish cleaning up your room. Let's see that dust fly with that broom. Get all that garbage out of sight, or you don't go out Friday night.
Don't talk back.
Au contraire, mes amis. We do want you to talk back for this next 60 minutes. A daily opportunity we provide to you to have your voice heard. Maybe you want to weigh in on something we talked about earlier today on the show. Maybe something else is happening that you think we need to know about. By all means, make that call and fill us in on the details. 519-570-2545, star 570 by cell, or long distance toll free at 1-800-570-5715. You make the call, we answer, and you start the conversation. Just in following with what we finished talking about in the last segment with Karen Coviello, who so ably filled in today on political R&D, helping us kind of get some insight into the goings-on with government, municipal, provincial, because Karen not only ran provincially, but also sat as a municipal councillor in Waterloo. And Karen suggests, and I don't think she's wrong at all, that the battle has already been lost by the region in the court of public opinion. No matter what it does now, our regional government, with the speed camera program, it has a program that the community, by and large, despises. So how do you recover from that? And maybe the only way to recover from that is having the province sort of overtake the program and either dismantle it completely or assume responsibility for it on some level. And then it's the premier's problem or the provincial government's problem as opposed to the municipal government's problem. But I believe in my heart of hearts, I really do, that it will be an election issue next October when we go to the polls municipally. And it is my hope that when it becomes that election issue, it is one that brings an end to this program that you will not convince me, truly, is not a cash grab. I'm always willing to listen, but I'm pretty dug in on this one. When you just consider some of the data that we learned from the region yesterday. The region did say that tickets are not being issued for 1 kilometer over the speed limit, but it's not saying how many kilometers over the tickets are being issued. And we're still not being told. I just did the math myself, and anybody can do it. Roughly 56,000 tickets, average ticket cost $108. You do that multiplication, it's $6 million in revenue. But the region's not saying how much revenue has been collected, and more to the point, where that money goes. I know it's supposed to go into road improvements, road safety initiatives, et cetera, but the cameras, they come from somewhere. Somebody brought them here, installed them here. There's a lot of money being funneled through this system that I think needs to be accounted for, and I think we deserve to know what that is, because I don't necessarily like the idea of my taxes going to fund completely new industries. And one of those industries, by the way, is I'll remind you, 33-person department our regional government plans to create to manage our speed camera program. 33 salaries that we will pay through our taxes, a.k.a. speeding fines. That's about safety? That's what safety is? Or are we employing people and helping camera operators and who the heck knows what else? Key data points missing. And furthermore, I'll remind you, little tidbit I shared this morning, Sweden, as a nation, has almost 2,500 speed cameras. 2,500 speed cameras. That's a lot of speed cameras. But you know what they did as a little experiment? Instead of just issuing tickets for those speed cameras, they decided what they would do is hold a lottery. So if you went past this speed camera and you were at or below the speed limit, your license plate would be entered into a lottery. And the prize in that lottery was the money collected by all of the other speeders. So instead of keeping the money, they turned it back over to a lucky lottery winner for not breaking the speed limit. We call that positive reinforcement. And it worked. Speeds dropped, and somebody got a nice lottery prize. The other thing that Sweden has learned, and this is something that I've talked about, again, we claim that the program here is about safety, road safety. But Sweden has kind of figured this out too. The party's the Democratic Party in Sweden, their traffic policy spokesperson says, we would like to see more uniformed personnel on the roads. And talking just about speeds is wrong. I will quote, "We have people driving under the influence of alcohol, drugs, vehicles with driving bans, and quite extensive illegal professional traffic. And that's what you're letting go of if you just focus on cameras and think that will solve the problem of fatal accidents in traffic. Now we've said no. Thank you, Sweden. We should also be saying no. You think getting people at 53 in a 40 is solving your traffic problems? I got some swampland in Florida available for sale." Just some thoughts from yours truly as we get Talk back underway with Randy. Good afternoon, Randy.
Hey, Mike. Just a thought. Reach out to the Farwell force and request whoever's gotten a ticket, what were they doing when they got the ticket? 1 over, 2 over, 5 over? And let's see what we can figure out the limit is.
Randy, that's an excellent idea, and that is always welcome, whether you are a card-carrying member of Farwell's force or not. We have 156 names on our list. You're welcome to be a part of it. If you give me 15 minutes a day, 15, that's all I ask. If you're listening, you don't have to necessarily be a caller, but if you are, even better, we'll add you to the list. We're 156 members strong right now because collectively, we participate in these conversations every day. 15 minutes, half an hour, maybe 4 hours, whatever it is. You give me 15 minutes, we give you a spot on the list. Official members of Farwell's force, now 156, a force for good, a force for change, a force to be reckoned with. When you call today, ask for a number. We'll add you to that Farwell's force. You can send me an email, mike@570news.com. And I like where Randy's coming from. Did you get a photo radar ticket? How much over the limit were you going? Let's find out. We'll play the game. Who got the ticket for the lowest amount of kilometers over the speed limit, or the fewest kilometers over the speed limit? Mary, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mike with a mic. Mike?
Mary?
What I'd like to know, I would like the stats on the number of accidents that had happened in a school zone prior to these cameras.
Oh, you and me both, Mary. Not only the number of crashes, but the number of people that were hit or injured by people driving cars.
Well, I bet you there was none.
I bet you're right.
Yeah, so this is not following any statistical evidence. And I agree with you. It's a money grab.
It is a money grab.
And especially since it's 24/7. Why can't they, and you and I have discussed it before, they do it in the States, it's 40 or 45 when the light is flashing.
They do it just down the road towards Dundas on Highway 8.
Well, so that's a lot cheaper, and you're not having another bureaucracy to manage these things. Like it's I can't even say the word. And I will tell you too, Mike, and you know, and I know you know it, there's more danger at drop-off and pickup time with all those cars. They clog up the side streets. There's more likely accidents to be happening at pickup and drop-off.
Well, Mary, I appreciate that call, and I know you're right. I've seen it because I live near a school. You couldn't speed in those neighborhoods at pickup and drop-off if you wanted to. They're so congested, so full of cars and buses and people and you name it. You couldn't speed if you wanted to. So it just goes back to this idea of it not being about safety. And look, I feel for municipal governments. I do. Besides property taxes, what have you got? User fees. And those aren't popular. And now they've found this tax. It's a gold mine for municipal governments. $6 million in 6 months. We continue Talkback on the Mike Farwell Show. Be a part of the conversation on 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. Suzanne, Liz, welcome to the force. Suzanne, you are Farwell's Force official member number 157. Liz, you're number 158. We are a collective force for good. We're a force for change. We are a force to be reckoned with, and we continue Talkback here on the show this afternoon. Andre, good afternoon.
Hi, Mike.
Hi, Andre.
I really thank you very much, I guess, for you first to introduce us. KC, I guess, nickname. Karen. Wow, Mr. Deutschman, you must be very blessed to have somebody like her to give him so many laughs. She's an amazing person. Really liked her, Mike. My second thing is the Fan Fest. I gave a handshake to Josh Percy just to confirm that I did hear from him last year on when he was taking your place or when you were leaving, and it was an honor to have him there because I talked to him a couple times, and he's a natural. So, and it was funny because I said, well, young man. He's like, well, I'm not that young, 32. And I said, wow, then I came home, and I was like, oh my God, that makes me feel old when I call somebody young that's 32, right? And Mike, just thank you for being you, for the beer and the chocolate bar. Have an amazing day.
All right, Andre. Did you bring me the beer and the chocolate bar? I'm still trying to find out who brought me the beer and the chocolate bars. Or no, the beers, 2 beers and 1 chocolate bar at FanFest. And yes, Josh Piercy is joining our Kitchener Rangers broadcasts on 570 News Radio this season. We get underway on Friday, September the 19th against the Brantford Bulldogs. That'll be our first game of the Rangers regular season as well. Paul, you're on Talkback. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. So let's see, Sweden, 2,500 cameras taking pictures, not of speeders, but of every single vehicle that goes by and entering that into a database. Are you comfortable with that?
Nope.
Kind of sounds like government surveillance to me when they're, if you're just going after speeders, there's a reason you took a picture of them. Why are you taking a picture of ordinary citizens driving down the road?
Paul, it's a great question, and I'm glad you asked it because Karen Coviello and I touched on that as well. This program here in the region has already lost the battle in the court of public opinion. The question becomes, will it survive? But I think Paul's on to another aspect of it. How do you feel about being surveilled to that extent? We were, rotating right now, 12 cameras or so, another dozen or so are being added now that another school year is here. Eventually, the plan is to have 175 cameras around this region in total. That's a lot of surveillance, a lot of it. Walter, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Yeah, Mike, I agree with Paul. And, the reason that they got to do that, all these cameras, is because they got to have some way to track everybody when they finally revolt against this madness. So, but he stole my thunder, so I will let that go. But, Mike, you have another new guy in the broadcast booth this year. Is that what I'm hearing?
That is correct, sir.
What, are you a hard guy to work with or something?
Yes.
Every year.
Yes.
Every year you get a new guy.
No, it's been 2 years. Fixie lasted 2 years.
Oh, so he's he's the exception, not the rule?
That's right. That's right. We're going to give Josh, he's on a 3-month probation, and we'll see if he can put up with me any longer than that.
Oh, okay. So I don't know anything about him, mate.
Well, you'll learn. Just listen to our Kitchener Rangers broadcasts. He's a great guy.
Yeah, I do that from time to time whenever I can. So
I know.
Okay, buddy. That's all I got today, so I will let you go.
All right, Walter. Thank you for the call. And just so you know, Paul Fixter insisted. I made him insist. I looked him square in the eye. I said, "Make sure." Is it because I snore? Am I a bad roommate? Am I bad to hang out with? And Fixie's like, Farzy, listen, I have the opportunity to spend winters in warmer weather than I get to when I'm with you on hockey trips. It's as simple as that. Paul is moving into more of a retirement mode. He has earned it. I begrudge him not one iota of what he has earned in this life, and I'm happy for him, but I'm going to miss him because he was great to work with. And I think he thought I was okay, too. And I guess we'll find out how long Josh Piercy can last around me because I'm a tough nut. Mayor Jake, good afternoon. You're on Talkback.
Mike, how are you now?
I'm good, and you?
Not so bad, thanks. Nothing gets me more fired up than hearing about these speed cameras. Let me tell you, there's one out in front of the high school on Forest Heights. What complete, absolute nonsense. So just so I can understand this. So I can drive like a complete maniac on the highway, get it caught on 50 dash cams. They can't send me a fine or a ticket because, we don't know who's driving. But you can send me a $180 ticket for going 5 over in a school zone, but you didn't know who was driving. We send it to the person who owns the vehicle. So why can't we do that with these yahoos on the highways?
I think that it's another example of the misguided nature of the speed camera program. You want to catch speeders, get out on McQueen Shaver Boulevard, get out on Homer Watson Boulevard. By all means, get the people that are doing $1.60 on the 401. I'm with you, Mayor Jake.
I just see too much aggressive driving on our city streets, and I have a dash cam, and I catch maybe 3 or 4 guys every day just driving like maniacs, and I can't send that in for that person to get a fine. But you're gonna get me for going 3 over? Come on with your absolute nonsense with the region.
All right, Mayor Jake, good to hear from you today. I don't know the legalities around police using your personal dash cam footage in order to issue an offense to a driver. I don't know how your dash cam footage would be able to determine exactly how fast that vehicle is going, et cetera. And I don't think it's $180 for 5 over. It's 108 was the average ticket issued. But I hear your frustration around speed cameras for sure. Afif, good afternoon.
Hey, good afternoon, Mike. First thing, for the speed camera, and you wanted to know what the lowest one was? I got mine for 4 kilometers old.
Wait, what were you doing? 44 and a 40? 34 and a 30?
34 or 30.
34 in a 30.
And I got $174 ticket.
$174 for 4 over?
Yep.
Come on, Afif. That sounds like a big ticket.
I don't know why that happened. I was like, what the heck? And that was on, the Blue Whale Street.
Yeah. Okay, so you got caught on Blue Vale in Waterloo doing 34 in a 30.
Yep.
Afif, I hate to break it to you, but I think you just won our prize. Nobody's going to get Somebody got 3 over, and that sounds awfully excessive when it comes to the cost of that ticket for 4 over. But there you go. Our current leader in the competition of who got the speeding ticket for the fewest kilometers over the posted limit. Afif says he got burned on Bluevale doing 34 in a 30. I know many of you have had tickets already because, as I've said before, given the way that our speed camera program operates, we are all speeders. It's only a matter of time. Honest to goodness, I check my mailbox every day and I half expect to find the speeding ticket, even though I do my very best to follow the speed limit. But they're just so varied. And Andrew says that via email to Mike at 570news.com. I don't care if the speed cameras continue or if they get axed. Just make the speed limits the same across the board. Some are 30, some are 40. It makes no sense. Andrew, you make a lot of sense. I wish I could help you. But have you had a ticket for less than 4 over the speed limit? A thief got burned on Bluevale. Talkback continues on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. Welcome aboard, Wilf. Wilf was a first-time caller to this show yesterday. And he sends me an email to Mike at 570news.com, says, I would like to be a member of Farwell's force. You got it, Wilf. You're number 159. The force is growing. That's why we're a force to be reckoned with. We're also a force for good and a force for change. The Talkback Hour every day, noon until 1, where we take your calls. Back to the phones. Jesse, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mike. Quick thing, I realized when I signed up for the force, I forgot to give you my husband's name. I think we're 133 and 134, and you have him as Jesse's husband. His name is Chris.
Let me make sure here. 134 and 135. You're 134. Okay. Jesse's hubby is now Chris. I got it.
Okay. In regards to the speed cams, luckily, we have not received any tickets, but that's because we will go out of our way to avoid them. Instead of going down Myers between Christopher and Franklin, we will turn down Christopher, go down Champlain, back up Franklin, because it's just a complete money grab. The cameras are on top of a speed bump. It doesn't make any sense.
Jesse, I'm with you. And this is another reason why when we hear a claim that roads are safer because the speeding is down or they're not catching drivers, it's because people avoid the cameras. That doesn't necessarily mean people aren't speeding. They're just going to places where the cameras are not. I appreciate the call today, and thank you for being members of Farwell's force.
You're welcome.
Jesse at 134, and Jesse's hubby, Chris, is now officially at 135. But have you done that too? Avoided the camera completely? I told you this story a while ago from Fergus and Wellington County. I mean, remember how many speeding tickets they were handing out in the early days of their speed camera program? And there's one in particular on Bellside Avenue in Fergus. And if you go to Fergus, you've probably been on Bellside, and there's a school. But drivers were avoiding the camera, going into these neighborhoods, and then the neighbors were saying, now we've got people coming through our neighborhood, they're disobeying stop signs, they're making it dangerous for kids playing in the neighborhood because they're leaving the main road, Bellside, to avoid the speed camera. It's the law of unintended consequences here. Email from Tracy to Mike at 570news.com. Tracy and her hubby, Bill, are Farwell's force members number 145 and 146. And Tracy's email says, we got a speed camera ticket, not in our region, but in Brantford for 13 kilometers over. It was $94.92. This was in a school zone outside school hours. And that's another reason where you look at this and say, are you grabbing my cash or are you making the roads safer? Because you say, we put these cameras in these areas where these poor, vulnerable children are, but outside of school hours, where are the poor, vulnerable children? Not at school, and yet you're still ticketing people to the tune of almost $95 in a school zone. And Tracy knows outside of the region, I mentioned it from some of my tours over the summer. This is not specific to Waterloo Region. These speed limits, these speed cameras are everywhere you go these days. Makes things interesting out there. Emily, good afternoon. You're on Talkback.
Yes, good afternoon. I'm 90 years old, and my son takes me for a drive every Sunday. He has a nice new vehicle. We're trying it out, and he sets the speed control. And do you know what people do to you when you're doing the speed limit?
Oh, my gosh. I can only imagine, Emily.
They run up close behind you, and then they get mad and they pull up beside you and stop, like slow down and give you the finger. And then they get in front of you and put their brakes on.
Yep. Sounds about right. And you just want to go for a nice Sunday drive with your son.
For a nice Sunday drive, and then we see them go speeding by, and they're so close to the Mennonite wagons.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And we're so afraid that they're going to spook the horses and get them going. So it's a sad state of affairs out there. Everybody wants their own way.
Emily, that's a great point. I love hearing from you today. Thank you very much for calling in. You know, I had a fellow pass me on Park Street, not far from Union. And I'll grant you, just because I said earlier, the way I go, like I get teased about driving like a grandpa. I'm just out to drive and to, get where I'm going. I'm never in a hurry, or rarely anyway. Anyway, I was doing about 46, and there's no speed camera, and the limit's 50. But this guy was so incensed with me. We came off Caroline onto Park, William onto Park. And I'm just cruising along. Like I said, 45, 46. And he was right up my tail end. I'm like, what's your issue here? Like, we're not that far below a speed limit here. And where do you want to go? It's Park Street, for crying out loud. And not long after we crossed the light at Moore, he gunned right past me out there and behind, Grand River Hospital or Wren at Midtown. But these are the behaviors you run into. Maybe Park Street, we should put a speed camera. Donna, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mike. As you know, I'm a daily listener and one who always trying to do good in our community. Question, have we had Regional Chair Karen Redmond on the show lately?
Actually, she was on this morning talking about funding for the new hospital.
I missed it.
That's okay. That's okay.
Again, these new regional speed cameras, I think it's a complete cash grab. You'll probably find this very interesting. Back in 1967, way before you were born, I was hit by a car in front of Shepherd School. I was in St. Mary's Hospital for 6 weeks. Funny, there's no camera going in front of Shepherd.
You know what, Don? Well, not yet, but you're right. You're right.
Well, I'm just concerned. I'm also concerned for tourists to our region who have no ideas about these cameras. To me, that says, welcome to Waterloo Region.
Here's your speeding ticket.
Yeah.
Thanks, Donna.
Thank you.
Good to hear from you. Farwell's Force member number 2. Donna, one of our long-time listeners to this show. And I'll just go back to Donna's point about Regional Chair Redmond. This is going to be, it needs to be an election issue in a year's time. It's as simple as that. And I would like to think that when our municipal councillors are knocking on our doors, asking for votes, one of the things they will say in their platform is, I pledge to do away with speed cameras. I mean, you could say it. You'd probably get votes. Ray's email to Mike at 570news.com. If these cameras are set up to sense the speeds of cars, what about scooters and cyclists? That's an excellent question, Ray. And the biggest challenge would be, because we know, first of all, even those little orange Neuron scooters that you can rent can go up to 32 kilometers an hour. So that's over a 30 in a school zone. And bicycles, we know, can reach 30 or more. But no licenses, no insurance. How do you identify the offending vehicle in that case if it's a scooter or a bicycle? You can't. So if you're behind the wheel of the car, you're the one that's being targeted. Alex, good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon. There's a real simple one for this one. I got 2 points. First, this one. Anytime a government, whatever it is, and they're talking about putting fines on the citizenry, and they do a return on investment study, don't do it. It's that simple. As soon as there's a return on investment, which all these cameras did, I know they were mad because some of the red light cameras weren't bringing in the revenue they were promised. So again, if there's an ROI request, don't do it. It's a bad idea. It's a cash grab. That's number one. Number two, did you get a chance to look into what I talked about the other day up in Muskoka?
Oh, yes. Oh, my gosh. We've talked about it on the show rather extensively since.
Yeah, and now it's also out west. This is happening all over Canada now. Not just that one incident. It's all over the country. And they're going after legal gun owners who would ever do anything like that. So these people need to be nailed to the wall. And I hope they do it. They probably won't. But they haven't caught him yet. This has been going on for a long time. So hopefully, the press keeps on it. Maybe something will happen. Because they're going to kill people at some point.
You know what, Alex? I don't disagree with that. In fact, I heard from a good friend who happened to be in the area of Muskoka where these yahoos, I'll use one of Doug Ford's words, were on the snowmobile bridge discharging all manner of ammunition from their firearms. And they were out camping, enjoying nature. And my friend described how frightening, I think he used the word terrifying, it was, because obviously one bullet in the wrong way, you got all these ricochets, all kinds of stuff was going on. It's bizarre to me. It's bizarre to me. And I'm with you, Alex. My friend who was close enough to this had said that the prison term should start at decades because that's how seriously this needs to be taken. I'm not a firearms owner. I wasn't there, but this is where we're at. And I cannot for the life of me wrap my head around behavior like that. Brazen robberies, no masks at LCBOs, like take your pick. I'm having a difficult time wrapping my head around kind of where we're at and the impunity with which these folks seem to think they can engage in these behaviors. This is Talkback on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. Talkback is your opportunity to share your thoughts on the news of the day or anything else that you think we should know about. Bring us the news. Back to the phones for Greg. Good afternoon, Greg.
Hey, Mike. 38 Greg here.
Greg, Farwell's Force member number 38. Good afternoon.
Okay, one question and then a comment. When you say about, next council, using the platform about speed cameras and da-da-da-da-da. Okay, we hear that it's a regional thing. Is it the councillors that have the final say, or is it employees of the region that are doing this?
Councillors.
Councillors are. So nobody employed at the region, their hands are tied? So just
they carry out the work that they are directed to do by council.
Okay, so a new council might smooth some of this stuff out. Okay, until then, what you should do is do, just like Fan Fest, do Force Fest. Bring the whole force out and get the regional councils out there, sit them down, and face-to-face make them answer every question that keeps getting asked on your show.
Trust me, Greg, they know. I promise you they know.
Right, but let's see them right to face-to-face, see if they can, whoever needs to grow a pair if they do.
All right, well, listen, don't forget that council meets weekly, and you are welcome as a resident to appear as a delegation and have your say.
I'd probably get tossed out.
Well, this is what we don't want to do. We keep things on above board. Okay, so you got your question answered. What's your comment?
Okay, well, the comment was about the Fan Fest thing.
Oh, okay, get the force together.
Do a Force Fest to their strength in numbers. So
gotcha.
Say just, if all of a sudden they see 159 plus, whatever. Like, I've yet to hear one Force member on the other side of this fence, so I don't know. Like I say, almost put them on a informal trial and make them answer to, face-to-face to the real, questions out there and just, make them justify.
All right. Greg, appreciate the thought, and we'll see where that goes. I can't imagine anybody being all that interested in sitting down in front of all 160 of us. Stu from Waterloo just got added as an official member of Farwell's Force. But remember, we do have some level of power in all of this when we cast our ballots, when people come to our door asking for our votes, when we participate in conversations like this on this show. There is influence here, and the strength in numbers, believe you me, regional councillors are hearing it, not just on this show, but from articles in the newspaper, other stories covered, you name it. And people are fed up already with this program. So they've got some work to do if they intend to save it. And I think really it's the battle of wills at this point. How stubborn will they be in maintaining this cash grab tax of a program that they've implemented? Terry, you're next on Talkback. Good afternoon.
Hey, good afternoon, Mike. I didn't call yesterday because I wanted to get a feel for this new.
Wait a minute.
Format.
Really? That's why you didn't?
Well, no, I also was busy, but anyway.
See, because
a little bit of both.
I was going to wait till you had your say today before I told you how upset I was.
That I didn't call yesterday?
Yes.
Oh my God, you're worried about a nobody like me.
Well,
man.
hang on. Now you were the one that was very vocal about how you didn't like it.
The only one.
You were the one that was very vocal that you didn't like the way that it was. I told you it was going to change. You called back and said again, you don't like the way that it is. I didn't know when it was going to change. Then I knew it was going to change. And I said, you should be my first call on Tuesday morning. You said you would be, and you let me down.
Well, Mike, Paul from Preston, I think, called. And he's
nope.
A lot more.
He didn't.
Didn't he called in yesterday, didn't he?
Yeah, but not first thing. You were going to be, I actually built that. I actually built that. No. My first segment was, I built time into my planning for you yesterday, and you let me down, Terry. You said I thought I could count on you.
I suck, Mike.
Okay, as long as you could admit it. Admitting it's the first step, Terry.
I was just going to say, Mike, remember, if you do have to eat that shoe, eat a crock, man. You can boil it, and it won't be hazardous to your health. So anyway, I don't have a problem with the cameras as long as there's ample warning that they're there. I was out for a motorbike ride on Monday, the holiday. I went up to Aurora, so I went through Kitchener, and I was going between Bloomington and Aurora. There, what was that? 23.
Bloomingdale.
Sorry, what did I say? Bloomingdale. I got mixed up with Minnesota, but anyway, yeah, you're right, Bloomingdale, and. So there is a camera there in Winterbourne. It's 40. So my thought was, I knew that because there was warnings that, camera in use. So I slowed down to about just under 40, which I probably was doing 35 because my bike, I mentioned earlier, it's not calibrated properly. So there were about 3 or 4 cars behind me, and they were just keeping pace. So my thought was, say I was speeding, like say going 50 on that 40, would all 4 of us get tickets or just the first one that goes through?
I've wondered the same thing. I think they all do. I think these things can snap pictures very quickly, so I think you'd all get it.
Yeah, but he was very close to me, so I could probably just reach back and touch his front bumper right on his car. So I mean, I'm exaggerating, but you know what I mean.
I think the technology's catching every car, Terry.
Yeah, that's what
everyone.
But I was just curious. But yeah, Mike, sorry, I apologize once again for yesterday. I neglected my duties.
All right, you know what? Apology accepted, sir. Can I, while I've got you, can I give you a hard time about one more thing?
Sure.
All right, thank you. I love that when you call in, you want to spend some time with Devin Robertson, our guy on the other side of the glass, and chit chat with him. He's got a job to do, Terry. And when you take 2 minutes of his time, he can't do his job, and I miss other calls. We have to share the time here. So you got to, Devin knows his job. He's just going to get you on the air and move on with things.
Now you're going to give me 40 lashes because you know what I was talking to him about?
What were you talking to him about?
I was curious, Mike, just out of curiosity. I timed from the last time you were on the air when you go for commercials and then they go to news. It was 7.5 minutes.
Okay,
well, that's what we were talking about. You must know.
So you took 7. Okay,
I wasn't going to say anything, but you brought it out of me.
You are something else, Terry.
I am the biggest ass you can imagine.
You nailed it, my friend.
All right.
All right.
That's why I'm not on your members list.
Thanks. Exactly.
Thanks.
All right.
Okay, Mike. Thank you, sir.
You too. Enjoy your day. That's so funny. We try really hard, and it's interesting. So. I can't. I won't even try to get into all of the back and forth that we went through to get here, and even still tried to massage and maneuver. You need 2 things, I do believe, from this show. One is information, And most of that information comes through our newscasts every 30 minutes during the show. So you will have a longer time away from your infotainment, which is what we get between those newscasts. When I can give Terry a hard time, he can admit to being the biggest ass I have as a listener to this show, and we just go on from there. You're never going to please everybody. But I think we have landed in a place where it is pleasing to most. I certainly hope so. If it's not, you know that you can always air your grievances with me. It's like Festivus every day on the Farwell Show. And on that show tomorrow, how about light rail into Cambridge? Or should it be rapid bus? And what about the way the province is measuring housing starts? And are we kind of like messing up municipalities that are trying so hard to get these houses started? Plus, tomorrow's Thursday. That means the flip side where we have some fun. And Gary Chalk is here with Living Retired. I'll be back tomorrow morning at 9. I hope you'll come back too. My name is Mike Farwell. You are a force for good. Bye for now.